Call 1-800-519-4389. That's 1-800-519-4389. Call or visit GetMonkeyMagnets.com. So call 1-800-519-4389 now.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again.
Please scan the QR code to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for standing in the gap.
Ahead on American Sunrise Early Edition, a $100,000 reward is in place for information leading to the arrest of the assassin who murdered Charlie Kirk. The FBI has also released photos and a new video this morning of the person of interest in this case as the manhunt continues. But also continuing are a flurry of inappropriate responses and misplaced priorities in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. From CBS's Nate Burleson to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, why can't so many Democrats and the mainstream media just get it right? And speaking of getting it wrong, the mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina, fumbled her response to the murder of Irina Zarutska, and now she's fumbling a chance to get it right when it comes to President Trump's call for the death penalty in the case. American Sunrise Early Edition begins now.
Welcome to American Sunrise Early Edition, the show where faith, freedom, and the values that built this nation take center stage.
Your good deeds and bad deeds, that's how we're going to judge you.
Join host Jake Novak as he breaks down the stories that matter.
We will be letting the public know regularly what we have found.
American Sunrise Early Edition with your host, Jake Novak, starts now.
Welcome to American Sunrise Early Edition. It has been a difficult week. It's been an emotional week. I hope those of you who tuned into our live coverage at Ground Zero yesterday are back here this morning. And as solemn and as difficult as it's been, I'm still going with the No Tie Friday. I think Charlie Kirk, who was wonderfully informal in the way that he sometimes was able to approach people, and formal in other times, would have wanted it that way, just for us to keep going and keep giving our message and feeling comfortable doing it. So again, I thank you for joining me. We've got a lot to talk about. Joining me to help me do that is our legal and political contributor, Dr. James Nuzzo. And Jim, we have some breaking news in that the FBI has released a video of what looks to be obviously the shooter in this case running across the roof of a building where apparently the shooter was perched, and then jumping off the roof. And then, of course, we also had the still pictures, more still pictures, clearer still pictures released yesterday by the FBI, and a $100,000 reward. Jim, off the air, you were talking to me about how there's something different about this guy compared to some of the other shootings and atrocities we've seen in recent years.
This fellow, unlike a lot of the other people who have been disturbed, didn't turn the gun upon himself, didn't try to kill himself. This is a person who, if you take a look at what his actions were, now I'm not a gun expert, and I can't tell you as to whether a shot at 200 feet is 200 yards is difficult or not difficult. But the rest of what he has done demonstrates tradecraft. He was all in black. He was lying. He was waiting. He obviously had gone and cased exactly where he wanted to go afterwards. He took a single shot. Even though there were 3 additional bullets in the chamber, he didn't take them. He took a single shot and then he left. He policed his brass afterwards. He did all the sort of things that someone who has been trained on how to go and kill does. Now, again, I'm not saying that this is a guy who's a professional killer because, as was pointed out to me, no one shoots for the neck. They shoot for the head or they shoot for the body mass. So he actually missed. He didn't hit where he was supposed to hit. Didn't make any difference to Charlie. He's dead. But right now, if you were to ask me to put a nickel on the table as to where I think he is, I think he's out of the United States. I think that he has planned his escape route. He knew how to get out of there, and he's long gone. Will we find him? Yes. Will it take a while? It may. But more is interesting is who is abating him, who is aiding and abetting this guy. And the United States government needs to start rolling this up. We know who's been funding Intifada. We know who's been funding the far left. We haven't had the guts to go after them. It is time now to roll them all up. And if that means an arrest warrant for George Soros, sign the arrest warrant, Pam Bondi. Have some guts for the first time in your life.
Yeah, I think I certainly hope he's still in the country if that means that we'll catch him quicker. Although, listen, he could go to Timbuktu for all I care if we get him in the next minute. That's fine with me too. But I do think
more importantly, Jake, I'm sorry to interrupt, but more importantly, okay. I'm okay that he's gone, because if he's left the United States, we're going to be able to roll up this conspiracy. It is more important to me that we roll up the conspiracy than that we're able to catch him on September 12th or September 13th. If we do it on October 15th, but we roll up a conspiracy, that's better.
Yeah, because we certainly didn't roll up the conspiracy with the attempt on President Trump's life this summer. We know there's got to be more than just this young kid, Matthew Crooks, who shot him. So we really have to get into that as well. But, you know, the interesting thing that you make the point about this guy wants to live and things like that, I can't help but draw some parallels here to Luigi Mangione, who clearly also wants to live and make a spectacle of his trial. I wonder if you see some parallels there. There are some other pieces of evidence that were leaked out. I'm not going to report them, but there were some potentially other similarities between Mangione and this shooter. My point is, though, what I can report, and what we all know is this established fact, is that this guy is alive, like Mangione is alive. And if there is a trial, you know, this could also be used to grandstand, but maybe the trade-off is we find out who his co-conspirators were.
Look, Mangione, the heinousness of Mangione is twofold. One was the heinousness of the crime, obviously. But the second is the fact that the man was turned into this sort of sexy martyr for a cause. No one deserves to die. No one deserves to die because they happen to be the CEO of a corporation. You may not like what these healthcare corporations are doing, but no one deserves to be sort of like the Jacobins laid out. I don't know if you saw, Jake, but Intifada in Portland, Oregon, pulled out, and I am not kidding you, 2 nights ago, a guillotine. And they had it in their square. The parallels with the French Revolution are strikingly similar in many ways. And we all know how the French Revolution ended, which was they turned upon themselves. I'm waiting to see that start happening.
There's another parallel I'd like to draw, because I'd like to ask you where we go politically next. To me, this feels a lot more like 1848 to maybe 1858. Violence between civilians, although in this case, it's only one side shooting. This isn't like Bleeding Kansas, where the pro-slavers and the anti-slavers are shooting each other. At this point, the instances of conservatives in America shooting others is minimal to or nil. And again, I'm not trying to play the math game. Obviously, every shooting is unacceptable. But let's face it, that's just the reality. But that's where I feel like we are now. And I feel like Civil War is where we are. Just because we may not have a Confederate army and a Union army, it doesn't matter. People are dying, and there is armed violence going on inside America for political beliefs. That feels like Civil War to me, Jim.
Well, Greg Gutfeld basically said it takes an awful lot to radicalize Republicans. This has radicalized Republicans. This and the death of that poor immigrant woman who was killed basically because she was a white woman. It is radicalizing a whole lot of normally what President Nixon called the silent majority. They're silent no more. The anger is boiling over. Whether this will mean, and God, I hope not, that the people on the right also arm themselves and we get to a true civil war. But it basically, if there was any question as to whether or not the Republicans were going to turn out in 26, this is over. It's done. The left has radicalized the right. I'm remembering the comment by the Japanese admiral after the atrocity at Pearl Harbor. We have awakened a sleeping giant. It will not end well for us. I think that the left has also awakened a sleeping giant. It will not end well for them.
Yeah, I mean, look, the problem with most of the Trump supporters in the country, I wouldn't say most, but a critical mass, has been that when Donald Trump is not personally on the ballot, their turnout hasn't been as strong. And I think that Charlie Kirk now will be a cause to bring those people out to the ballot, as you mentioned, the 2026. I think that anyone thinking about staying home because Donald Trump himself isn't on the ballot is going to change, has already changed their minds. And of course, you made the point about, of course, the right is already armed in this country, and that is the high level of responsibility they have, and that they haven't turned those guns on their political opponents. I agree with you. I don't think that's going to happen, and I certainly don't want that to happen. But we should note, the right's been armed for a long time and hasn't done this. So this isn't a case of, well, everybody's just the same. No, I mean, there's actually a tremendous level of restraint going on from the right. Last question I want to ask you is, again, just, is there any way, I mean, again, we talk about this all the time. You and I agree that the Democrats just need a common sense political consultant or two. But is there some Democrat out there who could somehow save his or her party by saying the right things now? Because I know that there are a couple who have, and I want to give them credit, but not enough. And we have people in the news media, like Nate Burleson, deciding that this is a good time to blame the Republicans for their rhetoric. And you have Chuck Schumer saying, well, I don't think we should blame anybody. I mean, this feels like a time when somebody else in that party could do the right thing personally, but also the right thing for their party. Do you see that happening? I don't.
There are two voices, neither of which are getting much play. One is, bizarrely enough, John Fetterman, who actually has been a voice of extraordinary reason for the past year and change. And John Fetterman, again, has come out several times and has not pulled punches because that's Fetterman's way. The other person is Rahm Emanuel, who thought that he could run towards the center for 28, and the center is closing. Rahm is a man of considerable political talent. If anybody is able to use sort of the levers of power, and Rahm knows how to use the levers of power, in order to sort of blow open the center of the Democratic Party to create a lane for people of good consciousness, it's Rahm. I look to Rahm to sort of stand up and to speak out loudly. If he's listening, if his political people are listening, this is your moment, Rahm. This is your moment to go and seize the Democratic Party. No one's doing it. You can do it. And if you do it, you will have a whole lot of quiet Democrats who are not getting the play on the media, who will sort of say, oh, finally a voice of reason. I'm really hoping, I mean, I like John Fetterman, but John Fetterman's not going to go any further than he is. Rahm Emanuel has sights on the White House. If he's going to do it, he needs to seize the moment. This is the moment. Seize it, Rahm.
Well, I agree with you that he can do it. I just don't think it's going to happen. But listen, I just want a more peaceful Democratic Party that isn't shooting the people I admire and me. Dr. James Nesbitt, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. I know it's going to be a solemn one for all of us, but try to enjoy it.
It is. Thank you very much.
When inflation jumps, when you hear that the national debt is $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you are a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit now. Just text America to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. and you are still eligible for a rebate and free metals of up to $10,000. Birch Gold is the only precious metals company I trust, as do their tens of thousands of customers. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy September 30th. If you buy by September 30th, text America to 989898. Claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Again, text America to 989898. Coming up, all that economic doom and gloom in the mainstream news media isn't making much of a difference on Wall Street. Gold is up, but check your 401ks and your IRAs as well, folks. I'll explain in a few minutes. American Sunrise Early Edition will be right back.
Do you suffer in pain? Are you stiff and less flexible? Do you have trouble sleeping? Are you less active than you once were? Introducing the EasyWell Remedy Massage System that combines the incredible effects of vibrational therapy, targeted deep tissue shiatsu massage, plus soothing infrared heat. A triple fusion of therapeutic experiences delivering health-boosting treatments to your body. Full-body vibrational therapy increases blood circulation, bringing relief to joints and muscles and reducing inflammation while supporting your overall mobility. Look at these beads moving from the powerful vibrational motors.
It's amazing. It's like 1,000 little fingers just vibrating my body from head to toe.
Infrared heat penetrates deep to relax and soothe your body, reducing joint pain and stiffness and increasing circulation.
Remedy gets in there and helps deal with the source of the pain, so you feel much better.
The Ultra Shiatsu pillow with 6 infrared heated nodes is designed to mimic a professional massage specialist's hand kneading and working tight muscles in just the right way to bring maximum relief and pleasure. It is even detachable, allowing you to get a deep tissue relief in your upper and lower back, neck and shoulders, feet, calves, or anywhere on your body.
I can't even describe to you the feeling. It's just something that you're gonna have to feel for yourself.
Call or go online now to receive the Remedy Massage System. Your system includes the Zero-G memory foam layer, the vibrational infrared and ultra shiatsu therapies, the removable shiatsu pillow, remote control, and a convenient carry bag free. Just one massage visit can cost almost $100, but you can own the Remedy Massage System and have as many therapeutic treatments as you want. The sooner you order, the sooner you can experience the true remedy for your pain, stiffness, and stress. Call now.
It's a live look at the sunrise here in New York City on this Friday here on American Sunrise Early Edition. I want to thank everyone for joining us. As you know, yesterday I was live along with David Zier and some other of our great crew down at Ground Zero for the anniversary of 9/11. I have to tell you, I have a little bit of a confession to make, and I don't know if I said it on the air yesterday. I was down at Ground Zero on the day that it happened and a couple of days after that as well, but since then I had never returned. It was just too painful for me. And I'm really glad I did yesterday, because the sense that what you felt when you were down at Ground Zero yesterday was incredible kinship and love. You know, there were a lot of people down there who were the children and other relatives of 9/11 victims, and you know that they know each other. They probably don't see each other that much, but they see each other certainly every year at this event. They know each other well. They're smiling most of the time, remembering their loved ones, and celebrating the relationships that they have now with their fellow families of victims and things like that. It was a very, very powerful day. I'm still very much impacted by it. And then on top of that, of course, we were all talking about the murder of Charlie Kirk and how evil has many different forms, unfortunately. It keeps trying. They never stop. And the death of Charlie Kirk was on the minds of so many people downtown. And I don't think they were all Republicans or all conservatives, believe me, even though they had gone through the 9/11 thing. But they were all very upset about it, and they know about this kind of pain. I want to talk a little bit about something that I was going to talk also with Dr. Nuzzo about just in the previous segment, about one of the other things that needs to happen. You heard me say this, and this is not an insult, because it's one of the things that frustrates me, and I'm sure frustrates a lot of you as well, that while President Trump has been, considering the fact that he's not an established politician, so incredibly successful in his personal races, the 3 times he's run for president, Republicans and the people who supposedly are on his team in midterm elections have not done as well. Certainly didn't work out well in 2018. In 2022, the midterm elections did not go as well for the Republicans as expected. Remember, they did not take back both houses of Congress, and that was a disappointment, to say the least. Anyway, this is our next election coming up. It's more than a year. I grant you that. It's 14 months to November. True, November 2026. But for Charlie Kirk now, if you can't bring yourself to vote for candidates enthusiastically because they're not named Donald Trump or you don't trust them to support President Trump enough, then do two things. First of all, make sure you vote in the primaries or call up those candidates and tell them they need to support this agenda. And second of all, do it for Charlie Kirk. Do it for people who are still with us, like Scott Pressler, who go around and knock on doors and work so hard. There need to be hundreds more of people like this. We need to replace Charlie Kirk. They can't get to the point of his abilities and his impact. But if there are 100 more people trying to get there and getting maybe halfway there, then that will really be the great legacy here. Again, 14 months to the midterms. I'm not going to tell you how to vote in each individual election. That's not what I do. But I am going to tell you that you got to vote, and you got to make sure that you elect people who are going to try to attack what's going on in this country in a peaceful but very, very stern manner. There's one other thing I want to talk about. Jim and I were going to talk about this. We didn't have the time. But the point is, there need to be arrests made of the people who are running the NGOs and other funding organizations that we know are encouraging this. Again, doesn't necessarily mean they have to be locked up forever, but I would arrest George Soros. I would arrest Alex Soros. I would arrest the leaders of some of these other, the big donors, and tell them they are being arrested on suspicion of fomenting violence in this country, and give them a desk appearance ticket, and then they can leave and hire all their expensive lawyers, and we know what's going to happen then. Doesn't matter. Put the fear of God into these people. Call up Paramount Skydance, which now owns CBS, and tell them that they are in danger of losing broadcast licenses unless they stop having people on their shows like Nate Burleson trying to blame the Republicans and the victims for the death of Charlie Kirk. Tell MSNBC and their owner Comcast that they may not get their next broadband license unless they deal with this. Again, this will all be fought in the courts. Let them stew and stew. They can sue all they want. They can fight it in the courts. And I'm not asking President Trump or anyone to break the laws. There's nothing illegal about what I just described. Let this process go on. That's very, very important to all of us. But for you and I, the thing is to remember, don't let Charlie Kirk's voice be silenced, or what he was going to try to say be silenced just because of this terrible killing. And we know that there has to be somebody or some folks who encouraged this and maybe even paid for it. We'll find out more, God willing, when this person is caught. But remember, our opportunity now is to vote. It's silly for people to go on TV like they're doing now and only say, don't be violent. Of course we should say that, but honestly, we're beyond that now. People who inspire this need to be punished. Punished legally, but sternly. And I think we can all support that. All right. When we come back, we're going to take a look again at the free markets. Charlie Kirk was a very devoted capitalist. We're going to take a look at some of the very interesting news there, including an interesting story coming out of the car industry. Ford is trying some new messaging, and I think I need to warn them about something. And later, the political fallout continues from the murder of the Ukrainian refugee on that Charlotte commuter train. We're going to talk to a U.S. Senate candidate from North Carolina about it later this hour. American Sunrise Early Edition. We'll be right back.
Messes happen every day in every way, but who wants to drag out a bulky vacuum? Introducing Horsepower Duck, a super compact vac with ultra-powerful suction. Watch as it effortlessly crushes this large bottle. This is a small but mighty duck, making it quick and easy to clean any mess. Just duck it up. The compact design can reach the tightest places. It's smaller than a water bottle, so store it in any drawer where it's always at your fingertips. Plus, it dumps out with ease, so it's ready to clean again.
I used to have to drag out this huge thing they call a portable vacuum cleaner. Now I keep the duck in my kitchen drawer and I clean up messes in 2 seconds.
The turbocharged motor is engineered to create a powerful vortex of suction, while the HEPA filter helps remove dust and allergens. We attach the duck to this tube, and the powerful suction lifts the water all the way to the top. Clean up that mess in the kitchen, the spill on the sofa, even sawdust and screws in the workshop. Plus, it's rechargeable. Got messy pets? Duck powerfully picks up pet hair from anywhere and cleans around that dish in a flash. You can even store it in your glove box for the ultimate car vac. Clean seats, walls, the floor, and deep into those hard-to-reach places. Other bulky hand vacs sell for up to $150. But get the Horsepower Duck hand vac for just $39.99. Order right now and we'll upgrade you to the Duck Pro package, a $30 value, yours free. You get the bendable tube to get into tough spots like under appliances, the crevice nozzle to reach into those cracks and crevices, and the soft brush nozzle to vacuum gently with no scratches. You'll get the Duck with all the deluxe attachments, but supplies are limited, so there's a strict limit of 3 per order. This may be your last chance to get yours at this low, low price. So don't delay. Duck it up today.
To order, call 1-800-692-0144 or visit duckback.com. So call 1-800-692-0144 or visit duckback.com. Order now.
That's a live look at Ground Zero in New York City, where I was yesterday and where you watched our program live yesterday as well. Of course, it's always in our minds, not just on the actual date of September 11th. I want to thank everybody who was involved in not only putting that together, but watching it. Not far from Ground Zero is Wall Street. Let's take a look at where the markets will begin today, because, of course, again, as I talked about yesterday, 9/11 was an attack on our financial markets as well. And you see some red arrows this morning, not very far down on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, 100 points down on the Dow. But understand, folks, that all the market indices hit all-time highs yesterday, closed very, very securely inside of all-time highs. So this small give back at the open, which may not last the whole day, is nothing. Also, take a look at oil right now, $63 a barrel, and gold. Again, we're getting really close to that $3,700 per ounce level. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin yesterday starting to show a little bit more traction, going up a little bit higher. Yeah, now we're at just about 115,000. So starting to creep up higher as well on that number. Well, what got the markets to those all-time highs yesterday was the consumer inflation report for August that came out. It basically came in just as expected. There was one smaller part of it that was hotter than expected, and there was another part that was as expected. The bottom line is, folks, investors didn't see anything in that report that would stop the Fed from cutting interest rates in what is now 5 or 6 days from now. Next week is when the Fed's going to have that meeting. And there's a little drama at that meeting because we don't know who's going to be sitting at the table with the whole situation. And I'll be talking about that in a minute. But honestly, the Fed is going to cut rates. I would be shocked if they don't. And that's where markets are looking at, and that's what they want. This is a very interesting story I'm going to tell you about right now. Have billions will travel. Now, Paramount Skydance is run by David Ellison. He's the son of Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle. But of course, David is a huge shareholder in Oracle. And Oracle shares earlier this week went up a whopping 30% in one day. Larry Ellison himself became well over $100 billion richer in one day from that day. And David Ellison definitely made a few billion himself. So what are you going to do with all those extra billions? Paramount, Skydance just bought Paramount. That's the company that owns CBS. Well, there are reports, strong reports, I believe them, by the way, from sources I trust, that Skydance, David Ellison, and Paramount are now looking to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, that includes all those movie studios and things like that, but it also includes CNN. Now, I've said on this program, and I've said it on my social media accounts a number of times since the beginning of this year, that I don't believe CNN will exist in any real form, in any form that we can really recognize by the end of this year. Well, now we're seeing how this is likely going to happen. I think that Paramount will likely buy Warner Brothers. They will fold what is left of CNN into what is left of CBS News and turn it into one entity. There'll still be some kind of CNN brand name on documentaries or some kind of streaming service, sure. But CNN as a standalone channel, I think, will not exist in not that long from now. I know no one is crying over that, but this is how it's going to happen. Watch out for it. It's an interesting story in media. Now, getting back to the Fed. President Trump is asking an appeals court to uphold his firing of Fed Governor Lisa Cook. And he wants it done fast. Why does he want it fast? Because, as I said, the Fed meeting is next week, September 17th and 18th. Now, we could actually have some drama at this thing. Usually the Fed meeting is boring. But I would not be shocked if Lisa Cook comes with a camera crew trying to get seated in that Fed meeting. Meanwhile, President Trump has his replacement, Stephen Myron, who could be confirmed by that time, and he might want to have the same seat. What's Jerome Powell, the chair of the Fed, going to do? Tune in next week. I'll give you all the updates as they develop. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. This is Moving America, sponsored by Artillery Tea Company, artilleryteaco.com. Use promo code LIBERTY for 20% off your order. Artillery tea is all natural, whole leaf. The tea bags are chemical free, and each tea bag can be used twice. Artillery Tea Company is family and veteran owned and operated, and a portion of your purchase goes to help veteran and first responder charities. artilleryteaco.com, promo code LIBERTY for 20% off of your order. Well, those 300 or so South Korean illegal immigrants that they caught a little while ago at that Hyundai battery plant in Georgia, they're back in South Korea. They've been allowed to return home, no arrests, but they did send them home. Okay. But this may just be the beginning of what's going on here with foreign auto companies, primarily, other companies too, who have plants here in this country, got big tax breaks to bring them here, had a big ceremony talking about all the American jobs they're going to create, and then end up bringing their own people from their own countries in large numbers. Look, I understand you want to bring a few managers, and some, I get it. But for middle of the line and line work, that's got to be Americans, folks, especially if we give you the tax breaks. Tom Homan, the Voter Czar, says this is probably just the beginning. I think there are other auto companies that are going to get caught with this bad situation because not only do they bring their own people over, they don't even bother to do the paperwork correctly. These are illegal aliens. I mean, if you're going to do that, at least get your paperwork in place. This is something that could become a much bigger story in the coming weeks. Keep your eyes open for it. I certainly will. All right, Toyota says that it will start making 2 battery-powered SUVs at its U.S. plant in Kentucky. By the way, that might be another plant that gets raided if they don't have their paperwork in check. But anyway, they're going to make these electric vehicles in Kentucky. They will be in the models of the RAV4 and the Land Cruiser. So expect electric RAV4 and electric Land Cruiser or something like that to be made in Frankfort, Kentucky, hopefully by American citizens, and on down the line. However, Toyota is going to stop the production of the Lexus ES sedan at that same Kentucky plant. So I guess that's how they're going to make room for this. Ford has launched a new ad campaign, and I have to tell you, I'm nervous about it because it's called Ready, Set, Ford. And they say that these ad campaigns are going to be focusing more on lifestyles. To see the guy jogging, there he's driving a race car, I get it. But apparently they're going to be doing a little bit more of this, showing video of people doing stuff like this, and not enough of the cars and trucks. This worries me because you remember what happened with Jaguar at the end of last year and into this year with an ad that didn't show any cars and just a bunch of freaky people. I don't think Ford's going to show weird stuff. They're going to show some great American pastimes like this. That's great. And here they are showing the Bronco. But not enough. I want to see the car. I want to see the truck. I want to see the SUV. That's just me. I have a feeling Ford might end up modifying this campaign to show a little bit more of their vehicles. You can tell me what you think in the Getter, Rumble, and X Chats and Substack and stuff like that. Okay. And now I have a story for you in 3 parts. Are you ready? Part 1. The Chinese-made car that you see here, it's known as the MG3, was tested for use in Europe by the EU safety inspectors. Part 2. During that safety inspection, the MG3 had the first ever driver's side seatbelt failure in Euro crash test history. Part 3. The Euro inspectors still gave the car a 4-star crash rating. And scene. If you don't think that Chinese companies and Chinese government influence over our foreign countries and our country as well is strong and serious, then just read that story again. It had a driver's side seatbelt failure. I mean, that's almost instant death on a head-on collision. Nothing to sneeze at. And it still gets a 4-star rating? I can't believe they even had the guts to tell us that it failed in the test. But they still went ahead with the 4-star rating. Folks, this is politics and not safety. China has way too much influence, and it's going to cost lives. It has already cost lives, plain and simple. Okay, coming up, there are some updates for you on that North Carolina killing. That woman, the Ukrainian woman killed on the North Carolina commuter train. Going to tell you about that, along with a guest from North Carolina who's about to join us. American Sunrise Early Edition. We'll be right back.
How many times have you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It easily blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, soap, mildew, mold, and more. Forget harsh chemicals. With just plain water, Horsepower can clean bathroom tiles and tubs back to their original shine and luster. It's a game changer in the kitchen, where it busts through caked-on crud. Take it outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. How strong is Horsepower? We took this distressed 100-year-old antique and restored it to like new with Horsepower. Amazing! Get your Ruby Horsepower scrubber today with bonus scouring sponge for just $39.99. Save on buying batteries. It's powered with the latest rechargeable technology. But wait, you'll also get this stainless steel brush to make range hoods and gas stoves look brand new again. Yours free. And we're not done. You'll get this Smart Flex cone brush that fits perfectly into corners, tiny crevices on toilets and tiles, or hard to reach shower door rails. Yours free. And to top it off, we'll include this microfiber cloth to clean delicate surfaces and polish cars sparkling clean. It's also free. Great news! Horsepower is now in stock and ready to ship, but due to high demand, there is a strict limit of 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-953-8622. That's 1-800-953-8622 or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-953-8622 now.
It's Friday, September 12th. Here are this morning's top stories. A $100,000 reward is in place for information leading to the arrest of the assassin who murdered Charlie Kirk. The FBI has also released better photos of the person of interest in the case, also a video just released. The manhunt continues. But also continuing are the flurry of inappropriate responses and misplaced priorities in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. From CBS's Nate Burleson to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and other media outlets, why can't so many Democrats and the mainstream media get it right? And speaking of getting it wrong, the mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina, fumbled her response to the murder of Irina Zarutska, and now she's fumbling a chance to get it right when it comes to President Trump's call for the death penalty in the case. What would it cost the mayor to say she agrees? Nothing, and she still didn't do it right. American Sunrise Early Edition continues now. Welcome back to this half hour of American Sunrise Early Edition. I'm Jake Novak with you on a No-Tie Friday, trying to keep our purposes here continuing, doing what we do here, despite all the tragedy we've been dealing with, the atrocities in this country. And I appreciate all of you joining us again and commenting as you are. Very, very fired up, everyone. I'm sure you will be for days to come, if not years. Again, a lot of new developments in the Charlie Kirk assassination case. The manhunt is still ongoing. A video released. Going to get to that in a few minutes again. We will continue to update you, and I thank you for joining us for that. But joining me now is Republican North Carolina U.S. Senate candidate Don Brown. And, sir, I understand you've made an official statement about the political response, but just the overall incident in Charlotte, the murder of the Ukrainian refugee, and the incredible case of judicial malpractice that led to it. So tell us what you're saying about this and what you think needs to happen now, sir.
Jake, thanks for having me. It's been a tough week for us all. I've made 2 public statements on this, first of all, calling for President Trump to bring the National Guard in to stabilize Charlotte's light rail system. This system was put in when Pat McCrory, our former Republican governor, was Republican mayor. But since the mid-'90s, Charlotte has turned into a Democrat cesspool. They pulled officers off those trains. There is no security. This is a very dangerous situation. It's become a magnet, a cesspool for vagrants, this light rail system. I'm not a fan of light rail anyway, but President Trump should bring the National Guard in and really stabilize that train system for a period of 60 days. If Charlotte Mecklenburg cannot get a police officer on every train, every car, then they ought to just shut the entire light rail system down because it's become a vagrant, even just a magnet for vagrants. And the second thing is, in North Carolina, we have this unfortunate system where you have magistrate judges who don't even have to be lawyers. And I've stepped in and agreed with our Republican congressional delegation. This particular magistrate who let this thug loose, who had been arrested 14 previous times, should resign or be removed from office. And those two actions, by bringing in the National Guard and getting rid of this magistrate, will be 2 steps in the right direction to at least stabilize the situation and make our folks here in Charlotte and North Carolina feel a little safer about riding this light rail if we're going to continue to operate it.
Yeah, I'm glad you focus on the light rail, because I can tell you as someone who's lived in New York for about 40 years now, and also is an expert on the history of New York, it is the police presence on the subways that very often is the catalyst, one way or the other, for crime in any city. When Mayor Wagner in the late 1950s pulled the cops off the trains and into the early 60s, that is when New York's descent into crime began, and it took 40 years to reverse that. This is very important. I know it's not as heavily trafficked and as heavily, you don't have that much heavy ridership of it compared to New York, but it doesn't matter. It serves as a magnet. It tells the criminal element in any given city that the game's on. Go for it, guys. And that is exactly what happened in Charlotte. You pointed that out pretty clearly. I want you to tell me about your governor, Josh Stein, and his response to this, talking about how, well, we just need more funding for cops. As you said, this guy was arrested 14 times. It seems like the cops have done their job. It's the problem of giving money to any state and expecting them to actually use it right, isn't it? That's why you're probably calling for the National Guard, so that we can skip that step.
Here is a question of allocation. The current governor, Josh Stein, the former governor, Roy Cooper, who's now running for the Senate, have been a disaster when it comes to crime, as has the Charlotte mayor, Val Wiles. They'll talk a good game, but then they won't allocate the resources that are needed. When the former Republican mayor, Pat McCrory, there was a 6-5 Republican majority of the Charlotte City Council when I moved into the area after getting out of the Navy. Of course, it's gone to hell in a handbasket now. It's 10-1 Democrat, and those Democrats have pulled resources away from protecting North Carolinians on this light rail system. Josh Stein is just a bunch of talk and very little action. And so was Roy Cooper. And this problem is the entire environment has been created by Democrats soft on crime policy. They love crime. You mentioned the mayor, Val Wiles, earlier. She first raised concern about the mental health, incapacity of this murderer. She should be raising concern about the poor Ukrainian girl who came here and immigrated for the right reasons and found herself stabbed in the middle of the night. And I've got young daughters, and this young lady is only 23 years old. And the Democrats' soft on crime policy has fostered this environment. We just got to get tough on it. We just got to say no to it.
Yeah, and people should understand something. Charlotte is an important city in America. It's a banking center. We cannot allow our important big cities, no matter how blue they might be within a red state or blue within a blue state, to be governed by these people. It affects all of us. If the leading banks in this country, so many of them are headquartered in Charlotte, can't be safe there, this is a very, very bad sentence for the rest of the country. So I want to get to your race in particular, your race for the U.S. Senate, because the Republican National Committee has decided to back Michael Whatley instead of you. And I know a lot of people in North Carolina are very upset about this. They don't believe he is, enough of a supporter of President Trump's agenda. But more importantly, they don't think he has his other priorities as straight as well. What are you doing to fight back about this, sir?
Well, first off, we're all over the state. We've been in over 50 counties. We'll be in 5 counties in the next 3 or 4 days. Our campaign has been on the ground since February. Whatley is late to the race. He did not enter the race when Tillis was in the race. Whatley endorsed Tillis. He used his platform as chair of the North Carolina Republican Party to push the dangerous jab, Fauci's dangerous jab, urge people to take it. He's a very weak candidate, and I wouldn't say the RNC is endorsing him. I would say a very small handful of folks have misapplied their own rules to try to endorse him, breaking their own rules. The Rule 11 of the Republican National Committee does not permit an endorsement, yet the chair of the North Carolina Republican Party has twisted the rules to claim that it does. So both the chair of the North Carolina Republican Party and of the RNC have violated their own rules to try to push this guy through. They're afraid of me. So that's why they're taking the unprecedented step of trying to endorse early, because they know we're going to take him out if they don't try to take us out early. I've never seen anything like it. They're so afraid of an insurgent candidate here that they're going to break their own rules. Democrats break rules. Republicans should not be breaking rules. And the North Carolina Republican Party is going to have to get this fixed.
We're speaking to Don Brown. He's a Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate in North Carolina. And thanks for reminding me to mention the fact that, of course, this seat is open because Tom Tillis, the current Republican, at least that in name only, is the senator from that state. Sir, I have to ask you, This is something that we hear and talk about a lot all over this country. Red states like North Carolina, Tennessee, even Florida to some degree get a huge number of people from some of these blue states who are escaping the bad policies and the economic challenges of Democrat leadership. And then there's a worry that maybe because on social issues or other issues, they're still very liberal, they might really change the course of voting in those states. So what is your pitch? I mean, for people like me who might come to North Carolina one day, what do you tell people like that about how, that we need to sort of understand the situation there and not bring New York's bad policies to your state?
Well, it's been a topic of frustration for a number of years when you have folks who say we'll move from New York because they get tired of the taxing and spending policies up there that are basically very oppressive and an attack on freedom, and then come to a southern state like North Carolina, but then bring their own voting ways. If you don't like where you're leaving, for heaven's sakes, don't vote for the same policies that caused you to leave to begin with. Now, having said that, Florida has shown that it's grown its Republican registration. I will give our state Republican Party credit and our workers and volunteers. North Carolina has increased Republican registration really rapidly since 2016. And by the end of this year, we expect Republican registration in this state to eclipse Democrat registration for the first time ever. Of course, the fastest growing group of registrants are folks who are registering independent. We got to pay attention to those folks. A lot of those folks broke to the right in the last election. But just common sense tells you that tax and spend is going to oppress freedom. The power of the government and the freedom of the individual are inversely proportional to one another. I said on the campaign trail, and we love to have folks from New York come down, but we like Republicans to come down. And please bring conservative voting patterns when you come down. Otherwise, you're just replacing one problem with another.
Yeah, and don't fall for the things that you fall for in New York. Some candidate who you don't like all their policies, but they say one thing about abortion or one thing about another issue that you think is more important. Look, it's not. It's just not as important as making sure you have property rights, that you're not taxed out of the way, out of your life, and also that they let criminals out of prison. I don't care what other social issue you think is more important. Putting people out on the streets who are going to kill innocent people has got to be priority one to stop. I wonder, I only have about 30 seconds left, but I wonder if you can give me a little bit of an update on how things are going in Western North Carolina. This program and so many others, watching what happened last year, the poor response by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to it. How is that going? And are you trying to make that something to talk about in your campaign?
1,000%. It's coming along. It's coming very slowly. This storm came through September 27th. Joe Biden did not bring the military until October 3rd. I'm calling for a new unified command with the United States military disaster response command, whereby we'd have a 4-star general or admiral with Chinook and Black Hawk helicopters ready to go with generators and water and medicine, so that on day one after a storm, whether it's Western North Carolina or Eastern North Carolina, anywhere in the country, we can get the military in there with supplies to save lives. We got to have some meaningful change. And the Democrat response by Roy Cooper has been a disaster. President Trump put my opponent Watley in charge of this, and the folks in Western North Carolina will tell you not much has happened. It's a long, drawn-out process. We're still suffering from Hurricane Matthew in the eastern part of North Carolina for several years ago, where Democrats did not even allocate money. The Democrat governor, millions were given to help eastern North Carolina. That money wasn't allocated. It was spent on other things. And so it's been a disaster. We got to be much, much better about how we respond to these things. And I think we will be going forward, but we got to have some legislative action from the Congress to help us out.
Yeah, important lesson, whether it's hurricanes or 9/11 relief, cut out the middleman. We can't just be giving money to these middlemen who may not use the money properly and very often don't. Don Brown, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're going to be having a working weekend, but still have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
Coming up, David Brody will join me, and in light of Charlie Kirk's assassination, David and I will have to resume our ongoing conversation about civil war in America. American Sunrise Early Edition. We'll be right back.
The poverty is unimaginable. There are people who are struggling.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time.
This is the home of Galena. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, And I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
Right now in Ukraine, elderly Jews are trapped in unbearable poverty. If you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help rush a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
Eggs. It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
Please don't delay. Call, scan, or go online now.
This is going to become one of the more infamous places in America, kind of like Dealey Plaza in Dallas. This is where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. This is the college in Utah. We'll have to find out what the university's complicity in this is, if any. I'm not making any accusations. I'm just saying this is the place, folks. And I think it's going to become a place that we think about for a long time. Welcome back to American Sunrise Early Edition. I'm Jake Novak. Thank you so much for joining us on all the platforms, especially Getter and Rumble, and on X and on Substack. I'm certainly looking at your comments, and you're fired up this morning. You were fired up yesterday. I know that's what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. But here's something I know that Charlie Kirk wouldn't have wanted, and that is a real armed civil war in this country. David Brody and I have been talking about this probably 3 or 4 times in just the last couple of months, about how we both don't want this to happen. And right now, to be clear, we're not dealing with a Confederate army and a Union army in battles like Manassas or Antietam or things like that. But does it matter? If people are dying in America because of political differences and people are getting shot, even though right now the preponderance of the shootings is going one way and you know which way it's going, still, this is, to me, what we saw probably, and, you know, David and I know you like history as well. This feels to me like the United States was, from what I learned in school and read about, in 1848 all the way through, I'd say maybe 1859. Armed conflicts between pro-slavers and anti-slavers. Again, we don't have a match right now from conservative shootings, shooting liberals, but you understand where I'm going here. And I don't want it to go here, but what's gonna stop it, David? I have some ideas, but I'd like to hear yours. What we can do to stop this?
Well, a couple of things. You mentioned 1848 to 1859. Here's one thing they didn't have back then: algorithms. And you know, and I say that to simply say we have had both sides. Let's be honest. Both sides have gone down the rabbit hole. And I'm not necessarily saying it's dastardly, and let me explain that for a second. You and I, right? I mean, we have algorithms as well. We get certain things fed into our inboxes that, based on some of our preferences and choices on social media. I'm not saying, obviously, we act on it or have all this hate and vengeance and everything. That's a mental illness issue. But the point is that we're all part of it. I mean, in other words, we all partake in it, whether or not we know it or not. So that's just that. Look, here's the deal, Jake. We are in a pseudo civil war now. The question is, are we going to get rid of the word pseudo and have it actually be an armed civil war? And yes, what happened to Charlie Kirk and what's happened as well in terms of political assassinations in the past is part of the armed issue. But the pseudo-civil war I'm talking about, and you know this, Jake, we're in a cultural civil war, an ideological civil war, a geographical civil war, an informational civil war, a social media civil war. I can go down the list. I think I just did, and there's more. So in answer to your question, Jake, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. I'm not going to give you the trite line that says it starts at the top with leadership. That's a bunch of crap. And the reason it's a bunch of crap is because our leaders are a bunch of crap. They're not doing anything. And by the way, let's be honest, we're talking about Republicans, we're talking about Democrats. I'm not trying to do a both sides situation here. But the truth of the matter is that neither side has a desire to tamp it down. Neither side wants to tamp it down. They don't. And the reason conservatives don't want, or I say conservatives, the reason Republicans, I should say, don't want to tamp it down, for there are a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is that they're frustrated and ticked off about what's going on in this country. But the question is, do conservatives and Democrats, liberals, anybody have the discipline to actually step back and think about this? And we all have discipline, and we step back for 48 hours, and then next week, it's going to be a whole different matter. So I think it's a spiritual situation, which we'll have to talk about some other time. But those are some of my initial thoughts.
Well, certainly none of the, I don't see too many elected leaders that have the discipline. But you talked about the top-down thing. I agree with you. Talking top-down is the wrong way. Every good change in America, from ending slavery to ending the Cold War, to ending crime in places like New York City before it came back, came from the people first, up. Don't let politicians take credit for what the people do. Let's do that again. Please join me at 9 a.m. and everyone else on American Sunrise.
American Sunrise is a great way to start your morning. Join us Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We've got the news of the day and some compelling interviews that you don't want to miss. Here's what you missed from yesterday.
It's a sad and somber day in America. We continue the breaking news coverage of the political assassination of Turning Point USA founder and Rab's own Charlie Kirk. We started off this morning with a prayer, reminding each other how much we love each other. It's an important day to do that, isn't it?
David and Dr. Gina, if I may, like both of you, I've been thinking a whole lot over the last, say, 12 hours. And I'm resolved today to honor Charlie by continuing the work he's doing, by being a beacon, hopefully, of light, by allowing God's light to shine through me. Lord, please shine through me. And more important, by focusing on what makes this country great and trying to speak truth and encourage our fellow Americans to be better, to do better, and to live better. Everybody was talking about Charlie and loving America and the Constitution, all that, and that's all true, but he never buried the lead, and that was Jesus.
Yeah.
And, he led with Jesus and he ended with Jesus. And that's what made him unique. And from the book of John, and we're going to get to the Bible verse in a second, but the book of John says this: if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. And he didn't belong to the world. He didn't belong to secularism. He didn't belong to world values. He belonged and he cared about biblical values and lived his life every single day like that. It's often said that what matters on a tombstone isn't the birth date or the passing date, but it's that dash in between. And I think it would be hard to argue that Charlie made the best of that dash. He truly created an entire new lane when it comes to young people's activism, and I think he'll be remembered for that. He made the most of his dash.
He did, and if I was to write an epitaph for him, it would be, stay enlightened and fight for what's right, and that's what he did.
I've interviewed Charlie. We've all interviewed Charlie quite a few times. Here's what he told me back in 2019, Eric. This is a quote. "The hatred we receive as Christians is biblical," is what he told me. "It's prophesied, and you shouldn't try to make excuses for it, no matter what we're going to be persecuted."
Yeah, he that's probably why he's not with us anymore. He was too effective. He was reaching young people. He was reaching millions and millions of young people. He just had a sense of what people wanted.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul. Something shocking is happening with gold that the mainstream media won't report. Paper contracts for gold rarely result in physical delivery. But today, billionaires and major banks are demanding actual gold bars at 10 times the normal rate. Why the panic for physical gold? These institutional giants understand our $37 trillion debt means we're on a path to currency collapse. The good news, you can make the same move. A gold IRA from my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group lets you move your IRA or 401k into gold. To learn more, click below to get a free info kit on gold. Throughout history, gold has endured where currencies fail. Right now, the biggest players in the finance industry are proving this time won't be different. Click below for your free info kit from Birch Gold and diversify your savings now.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-608-4172. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-608-4172 now.
Ahead on American Sunrise, on the loose, still no suspect arrested in the Charlie Kirk assassination this morning. The FBI releasing new photos and video of who is believed to be the suspect. What other details have they uncovered about the weapon? We will have the very latest. Plus, ugly hate after MSNBC fired analyst Matthew Dowd for his despicable remarks during their coverage of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Will the rest of the mainstream media now start to look in the mirror? We're not holding our breath, but we will explore. And keeping the faith. What can God's word teach us about how to stay strong in dark and tragic times? The Bible history guy, Jim Mosley, is going to be here to break that down. We're going to have those stories and more as American Sunrise concludes the week, and we start right now. Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
we have breaking news to share with you.
Politics.
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
We've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrence.
And I'm Dr. Gina.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Gina. We are live with you from the Palm Beaches. Let's bring in David Brody. He's in Washington, D.C., and Terrence Bates in our Denver newsroom. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey, Gina. Morning.
Dr. Gina and David, good morning. So look, there's new information out this morning related to the manhunt, the ongoing manhunt for the person accused of killing Charlie Kirk. This is surveillance video the FBI released, and it basically shows, and you'll see this momentarily, the suspect literally running across the roof of this building and then eventually jumping from the roof onto the ground and getting away. You can see it all kind of going in here, and there he is. You can see him kind of scaling down the wall, and eventually he's going to jump down onto the grass and then run away from the crime scene. So this is new video out. The FBI also out with some pictures of the suspect. So now we at least have a face to go with this. There's the picture right there. Obviously asking for the public's help. There's a big reward out, and hopefully someone recognizes this person and can help track him down. In the meantime, guys, Utah Governor Spencer Cox also warning about disinformation that's out there.
For those people who are spending so much time on social media, I think Charlie said it best, that when things get bad, we should put our phones down and spend a little time with our families. There is a tremendous amount of disinformation. We are tracking our our team, the state team, and I'm sure the federal team as well. What we're seeing is our adversaries want violence. China, we have bots from Russia, China, all over the world that are trying to instill disinformation and encourage violence. I would encourage you to ignore those, to turn off those streams, and to spend a little more time with our families.
And Dr. Gina, the sooner police and the feds and all those involved catch this alleged shooter, hopefully the sooner we'll all get more answers as to why, and hopefully there will be some peace of mind knowing that he's behind bars.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I felt, better once I saw this footage and that they really are on to someone and that it looks like they might actually catch someone. It really pivoted my grief in a way, or at least maybe my anger in a way, because if this guy was going to get away with this, I just didn't know how mentally we would all handle that. That would have just been too much, and that he's still, I realize he's still on the run. It's not like we have him, but it seems like they're closing in on him. And I can't imagine they don't ultimately catch him soon, David. I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, Gina, listen, you and I track a lot. I'm on the other side of this. I was angrier after I saw that press conference last night, like really, really angry. And look, there's been a lot of emotions this week, as we all know. And I'm a pretty jovial guy, but I'm pretty ticked this morning. And there's a lot of reasons, and I'll be brief. Be brief. But let me just quickly say two quick things. No questions at all. They left the podium and didn't take questions. He says, the governor says there's disinformation out there. Okay, like what? Let me ask a question about it. Oh, you didn't tell us what the disinformation is. So you're going to, therefore, have more of that out there, more speculation. Why don't you shoot some of it down? How about you answer a question or two? I understand there's a lot many answers at this point, but if you say there's disinformation, then what are you talking about? Then they have Kash Patel, the FBI director, go over there, and he stands there to the side, doesn't ever come to the microphone. He's the leader of the FBI. Why is he not at the podium speaking? It was pathetic. And then last thing, on that video, great, we have the video, and now all of a sudden we see the shooter going down there, and then where do they stop it? They stop it where he's at a tree. He's still in the video. He's at a tree. That's it, 1:38 of video. And what happens after that? Could we ask a question about that? What happens after 1:38? Did he get in a car? Did he run off? We never see it. We were left with lots of questions about, well, then what happened once he was at the tree? Could we see a little bit more video? Guys, I was ticked off.
I think those are all super legitimate questions, David, and I appreciate them. And I maybe misspoke, too. I didn't mean that I felt better after the press conference. I actually didn't see the press conference last night. I had a client in town. But I did feel better once they started releasing pictures of the guy, which was initially, I think, yesterday morning. All right, let's get to today's Bible verses from John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Well, President Trump announced that he would be giving Turning Point USA founder and Rav's own Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously. Listen.
Before we begin, let me express the horror and grief so many Americans at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk have felt. Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Eric, and his beautiful children. Fantastic people they are. We miss him greatly, yet I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The date of the ceremony will be announced, and I can only guarantee you one thing, that we will have a very big crowd. Very, very big.
For more, let's bring in the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, Alex Marlow. Alex, thank you for being with us today. Alex, first I just want to let you speak to your memories of Charlie. Good morning. Seems like Alex's sound is off a little bit. David, I want to give you a chance while we're waiting for them to adjust things. To go back to, I think those questions you asked are so legit. In fact, I thought how perfect that we're having Alex Marlow, because those are the kinds of questions that Breitbart would ask exactly. You're such a veteran of this business. It does seem ridiculous that they just categorically reject all things online. We're just not supposed to go online now. Little Americans, go sit in your spots and wait for us to tell you what you think. Is that kind of how you're feeling?
Well, good morning, guys. Sorry.
Here we got Alex. We'll come back to that.
That was my bad.
Good morning, Alex. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was my bad. I apologize. And good morning to Terrence, Dr. Gina, and David. First of all, let me start by thanking David for that, because I want to give it 24 more hours before I start yelling. But this is a disgrace that we just nearly lost President Trump a year ago because a guy shot him from a roof. We didn't secure the roof for my friend Charlie. No one looked. No one bothered to see if there's any gunmen sitting there on the roof waiting to kill one of our most important warriors. And I didn't want to go there quite yet, but now that we don't have the guy days later, it's hard not to. And what was the governor smiling about in that press conference? Why did he have a grin in his face?
Yes, thank you, Alex. Thank you.
Well, what is going on here? And the FBI director, who I support greatly, I just wrote a book that you guys were kind enough to promote where I say he could be our Elliot Ness. Now at the time, Cash, this is a big moment here. We're rooting for you. We believe in you, but we got to bring him home now. And then there needs to be something. My friend got executed in public for free speech 3 days ago. A guy who I met as a teenager and offered his first opportunity to write at Breitbart News. And he took that and he turned that into an empire for media and activism where he inspired millions of people who are going to be remembering him for centuries, probably, at a minimum, decades, at a minimum. An incredible legacy. And we can't find his killer. We have video of him. No one's identified who he is. It's crazy to me. It's completely crazy to me that we don't know where this guy is or who he is. And we don't know what kind of a network he has. We don't know what country he's from. We don't know anything about this guy at all at this point. It is I'm hoping I eat these words in a couple hours. I think
hey, guys, we want to interrupt. Alex, I apologize, but President Trump saying that a suspect is now in custody. Let's listen in. This is just in.
Breaking news from Real America's Voice.
Just to protect us all, and so Fox doesn't get sued, and we all don't get sued, and everything else. But I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant. That was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But yeah, I think we're in great shape.
Any updates on the suspect?
Yeah.
All right, guys, so we'll continue our conversation, but it sounds like the breaking news now, President Trump saying that he believes law enforcement do now have the suspect in custody, which is, of course, a huge break in this case. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, huge news. And we need to get to the bottom of who he is, if he had a network, what he came from. And then, of course, we need to unpack some of those security failures that were, there's going to be a lot of shared blame here, but we need a full accounting of it. But, you know, we're all going through our Kubler-Ross stages of grief here, and one of them is anger. And that's something that is, I think, very legitimate. And it's a grieving process that we're going to have as a movement, as a nation. I know Charlie was a colleague for you guys on Real America's Voice. So we're all going to have some of that. So if they got him, they got him. And again, but it's important to note that the expectation in this country in an era where we have 24/7 video surveillance, that you catch guys like this pretty quick.
Yeah, what I was saying at the top, by the way, I mean, obviously, and I was about to do the disclaimer, but now we have this news. The disclaimer is simply like, I'm not saying they're not working hard to try and find them, obviously. That's obvious. I was just talking about the way, the PR aspect of it. When you send Kash Patel out to Utah, or he goes out there himself, and Dan Bongino, and then he doesn't come to the microphone. That just seemed like an unforced error. I will say this, Alex, let me ask you about this, because the actual quote from President Trump is, I think, So, not that we know. I think, then he says, with a high degree of certainty, we have him. Do you have him or not? That's an interesting way to phrase something like that. And we haven't, I'm still looking, I'm searching official sites here to make sure, or to see if we have anything official. What does that mean exactly, Alex? And I think the answer will be, we're not quite sure.
It's very hard to know. And that's where I feel like, again, I wanted to, if you weren't so passionate and touching a nerve with me, David, I was prepared to kind of wait a day but it's really tough considering that we're all under surveillance all the time. There's so many footage of everyone online. Everyone's got something they don't want online. I can't think of, I assiduously avoid posting stuff that I'm not certain I want out there. And there's still all this stuff. That's the era we're in. And then we got footage of the guys on the roof and we can't get them. It's bizarre that it's taken 3 days in this moment. So hopefully that's all it was. Or I guess 2.5 days. But it's it is, if they got him, that'll be incredible. But then there's still a lot of accounting that needs to take place for how this got to be where it was. Charlie is a giant in this movement. He was a leader in activism. He was a leader in broadcasting. He was a connector of people. He was a singular figure in my space, in our space, the one that we all share together. He can't be replaced by an individual, but his legacy is going to be so vast because he was so communicative. He was so persuasive. He created so much content. And he shared so much with us, and he did this with this relentless optimism. And we need to get justice for him immediately.
Alex, if I may, what do you see the larger impact of this assassination being? Because there are a lot of us who are hurting. Yes. There is a segment of society that is pissed off, and I'm sorry, but that's the only way to say it. And there's been talk of this civil war, if you will, that's burgeoning. Do you see it escalating to something like that, be it an armed civil war or otherwise? But there are people who are very angry and who want get back, if you will.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot lower tolerance for some of the nonsense, for lack of a better expression, that we've seen over the last 10 years in this country. I don't think there'll be a civil war. I think that conservatives are law-abiding, and we're the ones who are getting hunted down. So this is, again, with some of the premise of my research, is that it's the left that hates law and order. We love law and order, and we want to retreat to law and order. So you're going to see conservatives dealing with this by going to church, by communing with God, and by arming themselves, by fortifying themselves and protecting their families so that they're prepared, so that they're not sitting ducks when we get hunted down, which we will. They'll continue to do it. You've seen the reactions on the line. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep trying to kill us. So we're going to be more diligent and vigilant in that regard, but we're going to beat them by legal means. That's how we're going to do it. And so I don't predict there's going to be any civil war or anything like that.
I guess I'm sort of obsessed with something you alluded, and over the last couple of days I keep asking this question. We had President Trump almost assassinated from a rooftop. Do we not sweep rooftops as a matter of, I mean, if Gina Loudon, who knows absolutely zero about security, were suddenly put in charge of security, guess what the first thing I would do is? They didn't do that, Alex.
It is not acceptable, and it seems we can give it some time. I don't mean to force you guys into talking about it right now, but I know that it's something I threw out there, but it really is something that we do need an accounting that why that didn't happen. I can't believe it. I can't believe that didn't happen. And there's going to be a lot of shared blame. You got to talk about the university, local law enforcement, but we knew that there was a target on Charlie's back because of what he stood for, his Judeo-Christian values, the way that he was resonating with younger people. When the left tells you who they are, you have to believe them. And they've told us they want to achieve goals by any means necessary. They kept calling us all Nazis and Hitler and fascists. They continue to lie and smear Charlie, and his body's not even cold yet. And it just shows you that, of course, they want him dead. They've been trying to kill Trump. They tried to kill Steve Scalise. They tried to kill the whole congressional baseball team. They attack Rand Paul. They post all of our addresses online, those of us who are prominent conservatives, to get us doxxed and swatted all the time. It's been nonstop for 10 years. And think about all the anonymous Christians who've been targeted over the years, firebombing, the crisis pregnancy centers that we've documented, Breitbart, 100 instances of those over the last decade or so, maybe more. Of course they want to kill us. So why aren't we prepared? We need to be prepared.
Yeah. No doubt about it. I'm sorry. I'm working sources, guys,
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
and
we're live on the air, obviously.
Not seeing anything,
I'm going
by
to
the
hold
way.
off for now. I've got a few things. Go ahead.
You go ahead, because we don't have a lot of time left.
No, that's my point. I don't want to go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I'll jump in here, Alex. Because the news that we got, again, President Trump somewhat hedging, saying he believes that the suspect in this particular case is now in custody. But I feel like we kind of need some sort of answers, and we've kind of been touching on it. But whoever, or if there is in fact an arrest, I think the country can't really breathe a sigh of relief until we get some answers. Having someone in custody, that's fine, but we need to know the motive. We need to know who may have been behind this. I think there's still so many unanswered questions that we need answered before we can breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that'll be a great comfort to all of us if we really feel like we understand what the threat is. And I think a lot of my anger today is that we can't start that process. I think it would be a deep comfort to us if we can at least start trying to understand, was there a network? Was this a lone wolf person? What kind of information were they getting that radicalized them? Or was this someone who was a professional and who would have hired this person? What are the networks in place in the area that may have put this radical person who's willing to commit this heinous act on that roof? There's so much that is unanswered, and it is a huge distraction when I love that we've had so many tributes to Charlie, and we will, but there is this looming thing that this person's at large, and the sooner that comes to a close and we can begin unpacking that mystery, I think it'll help us focus on Charlie's long-lasting legacy.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex.
Alex, thank you so much. Thanks for being with us. I guess we're going to come back. Looks like David Brody is chomping at the bit to say something. We'll be back with whatever it is David Brody has to say and more of our breaking news coverage. President Trump claiming a suspect is in custody for the Charlie Kirk assassination. We'll tell you more in just a moment.
You push it. You try to slide it. You even try to hold them shut. But your doors just won't stay closed no matter what. Introducing Ruby Monkey Magnets. Brand new ultra-thin magnetic plates that will keep your doors and drawers shut. And now may be your last chance to get them at a low price. Just peel to reveal the super strong adhesive. Place the monkey, then the magnet, and close. Installation is that simple, and now you have a door that will stay shut. So forget drawers that won't stay closed. Every drawer stays closed. It's so fast and so easy. Even large sliding doors or cordless window blinds. Everything stays closed with Monkey Magnets. The secret is the ultra-strong industrial magnet that's powerful attraction keeps your doors and drawers securely shut. These magnets are so strong they can hold this hammer that's nearly 5 pounds. Plus they're super thin. They'll fit just about anywhere, and they stay out of sight. Even screw them in for a more permanent solution. Monkey Magnets are perfect for cabinets, dresser drawers, sliding closet doors, accordion doors, and more. They're made of ultra-durable metal, so even your outdoor problems are solved in an instant because they're corrosion and rust resistant. Use them anywhere outside the house, even on that stubborn mailbox that won't stay shut. Monkey Magnets can stick anywhere, from drywall to all types of wood frames, metal surfaces, and more. Call or go online now to get 8 sets of Monkey Magnets for only $9.99. Monkey Magnets are guaranteed to last 10 years or your money back. But wait, due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, this may be your last chance to get Monkey Magnets at this low price. There is a strict limit of 1 full house pack per order while supplies last. So order now to keep all your doors and drawers shut tight with Monkey Magnets.
Call 1-800-519-4810. That's 1-800-519-4810. Call or visit getmonkeymagnets.com. So call 1-800-519-4810. Order now.
Breaking news from Real America's Voice.
Breaking news, as we just reported, President Trump announcing that in all likelihood they have a suspect. That wasn't actually what he said. He didn't say the likelihood. We're going to play the clip that they have a suspect in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And the new information, according to President Trump, who was hedging it a little bit because from a legal perspective, wanted to not get ahead of certain things here and didn't want to get anybody in legal trouble. But apparently it had to do with the father, the suspect's father and the suspect's minister, who in essence turned him in to police allegedly, that's in all caps. Let's listen to the clip.
Any updates on the suspect?
Yeah. Can I always say, I think, just to protect us all, and so Fox doesn't get sued, and we all don't get sued, and everything else. But I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But yeah, I think we're in great shape. The father went to a U.S. Marshal, who was fantastic, by the way. And the person was involved with law enforcement, but was a person of faith, a minister. And brought him to a U.S. Marshal, who was fantastic. And the father convinced the son, and this is it. And again, I'm always subject to be corrected, but you know, I'm just giving you, based on what I'm hearing, they'll give you a much more active. I just heard about it 5 minutes before I walked in. As I'm walking in, they said, looking real good. They have the person that they wanted. So,
all right. Well, this is just fascinating. Let's bring in retired Navy SEAL officer, former enlisted Marine, along with Scout Sniper as well, Mike Sorelli. Mike, your reaction to what we're hearing, President Trump hedging it a little bit, saying what he's hearing. Nothing, I'm scouring. And by the way, if I have my glasses on, I'm looking down. I'm listening to you. I'm able to multitask here, but I'm also checking to see if we have any official FBI / any sort of agency that has come out and said anything. But yeah, we've got nothing official yet. Right.
It's all still developing.
And once again, and I just want to be clear. I'm not doubting necessarily at all what President Trump's saying, but the fact that the way he is saying it, I think we all need to just take a step back. Even he's taking a step back to say, yeah, and then giving details, but we don't have anything official. Mike, go ahead.
So, guys, if the news proves true, that is amazing news. That we've got our guy. You know, if it's true, the father and this minister, a man of faith, which is ironic, given Charlie Kirk was a man of conviction and faith, and the appalling nature of the crime, a father and a minister turned him in. They most likely saw the photos, were appalled by what their son or this young man did, and turned him in. So they are still in the fact-finding phase. They have to interview this individual. And you're right. Let's temper, I hate to say excitement or resolve, but let's find out if indeed it is the person of interest.
Yeah, scouring and just can't. There's nothing. There's not even. I've never seen an incident like this in my entire life where a president goes on a news program and makes a statement like that, and I'm looking at news and I just keep refreshing and I put in suspect in custody, and there's nothing. Can
I just say real quick, Gina, don't you agree? At this point, it's just kind of a freewheeling conversation. Don't you agree that, I mean, President Trump has to be right here, right? I mean, when I say has to be right, we got to. I mean, if you're wrong on
guys,
this,
let's step back a little bit. Yes, he is hedging, absolutely, and we want absolutes at this point. But he's also saying the information that he was sharing was literally passed to him as he's walking on the set. So he's probably gotten some sort of confirmation. But again, to be fair and to be legal, he's stepping back a little bit and hedging, saying, this is the information I'm getting. I'm still waiting for more confirmation. That's the implication of what we heard, Mike. Right. But still, this is the information that I'm getting, and I'm sure more information will come out here in short order as this is a developing situation. But Mike, I'm curious, bigger picture, how important is an arrest? How important will it be for our country moving forward to get information about the motivation, about the process, what really happened? Because at this point, we really don't have those details. And it seems to me that those details is what is going to ease fears and ease concerns and take some of the heaviness off of people's hearts.
Well, I think the fact that, one, if we did get him and we got him alive, we're going to get some answers. The driver behind his ideology and his motives to take out such an amazing man, one of the most brilliant minds of our time, a father, a husband, and why he would did this. And then trace his linkage back to, was he motivated by a certain ideological group? Is he a far left extremist, which the probability is extremely high? And then there are real debates to happen of who we hold accountable. And the left got a pass after the failed assassination attempts on Trump, and nothing changed. Guys, for Charlie Kirk, this is a turning point. This is a watershed moment. And the left needs to be held accountable. And this is the peak, or this is the irony. They've called us fascists. They've called us Nazis. Now, what does a true fascist group do? They silence their opposition through murder, not debate. They weaponize fear. And also it is the destruction of the rule of law, which we have seen for the past few years. They are the peak and the height of fascism. And, one of the things I would say is we can't keep these blinders on. We can't continue to look at the world through rose-colored glasses, because if you do that and you try to push off that you're not at war, you actually take more casualties. This needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed decisively.
I'm sorry, I'm chomping at the bit here, because you say the left needs to be held to account, needs to be held accountable. What does that accountability look like in your mind?
Well, I would go after starting with all the groups that are supporting attacks on ICE agents, that are supporting these violent protests. Go after them to the full extent of the law. The thing is the destruction of the rule of law. We need, and the Democrats have played this beautifully by taking district attorney offices with far left Soros-backed district attorneys who come up with these policies of no cash bail. And in the case of the Charlotte killer, 14 prior arrests, which led to the death of a Ukrainian refugee, a young woman. That is unacceptable. If somebody is a repeat violent offender, you lock them up to the furthest extent of the law. I do believe in second chances, but I also have to protect the masses. If somebody is a threat to society, if somebody is spewing ideology backed by violence, we've got to find a way to remove them from society and lock them up. And I know that sounds like extreme language, but how many more Charlie Kirks are we going to suffer? How many more Charlie Kirks are we going to tolerate? Yeah. Guys, I'm angered. I'm devastated for his family. I'm sorrowful, but I know my friends, my crew, mostly veterans that I grew up with and served and fought alongside, are angered by this. This is not the country we fought for. This is not the ideals of the American way.
Yeah. Does it seem to you like they should have this suspect in custody by now? I mean, when you look at all of the different, quotients that were present, we've had so many threats. Everybody's been doxxed. Charlie had a target. Everybody has a target. And yet, again, we didn't sweep the roof. We didn't have any cameras, people watching to see if somebody went on a roof just after our president was attemptedly assassinated, almost assassinated not long ago from the exact same situation. It just seems like there's just a lot of things that almost don't add up here. You really can't blame people for looking at what, according to that press conference last night, are bots online making allegations about a bigger picture here. You don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but at the same time, just not a lot of this adds up. And if this turns out where they say this is a lone guy, just one crazy guy, oh, whoops, I just don't know if we're going to buy it again.
It's a good point. And Gina, you brought this up in the previous segment about the security at the event. Let me say this. President Trump had a Secret Service detail. They conducted a sniper sweep poorly. They had an outer cordon. They had a counter sniper at that event in Minnesota. And they still got it wrong. They were able to take out that threat. Charlie Kirk is a private civilian with a private detail. The private detail was most likely working with the Utah Valley University Police Department. I was told that only 6 officers were at the event. So they didn't have counter snipers, which is costly for Charlie to afford. They didn't have people on the roofs. This is a hard problem. But we also look at I've seen a lot of reports about this being a professional sniper. I actually disagree. The neck is what we call a low probability shot, similar to the head, but snipers, traditional, well-trained military or police snipers are trained to go for the head or center mass. So if this was his point of impact, point of aim, but this was the point of impact, that's not a great shot. That said, with a bolt action, and it was a Mauser 30-06 bolt action rifle, a 200-yard shot is not that difficult. So this was most likely an internet shooter that also got their planning and preparation from the internet to do a pre-planned site selection, a pre-planned escape, and the fact that the FBI has them, this is phenomenal because they didn't have the security to initially conduct a massive sweep of the area. This guy got out of the area most likely, but they had 7,000 leads. Going through that catalog of leads, eliminating each one with diligence until they finally got their guy, and hopefully that proves true here in the next few hours.
Mike, we appreciate your perspective. Thanks for joining us this morning. It's obviously a busy morning of news. Let's bring in John Solomon on the phone now as we continue to follow this latest news. President Trump saying that he believes that the suspect in Charlie Kirk's murder is now in custody, or at very least has been identified and will shortly be in custody. John joining us on the phone. John, it's my understanding and our expectation, of course, that there will be a news conference here in short order, potentially as soon as 9 o'clock Eastern time, in which we'll get more information. What are your sources telling you, John?
Well, 7:52 this morning, before President Trump went on Fox News, we confirmed that a person of interest was detained and that they're preparing an arrest warrant. So we've known about this for about 45 minutes. We were monitoring it all through the night. As I said at the end of my show last night, they had identified someone that they were closing in on. They weren't ready yet to announce it, and I think they were trying to buy some time until they could safely apprehend this person. But we were able to confirm this morning around 7:52 a.m. that a person of interest has been detained. He matches the description. There is some biometric and other data that gives them strong reason to believe that this is their man. They're preparing a state arrest warrant. The first charges will most likely be state charges. The original plan was to do a news conference at 9 Utah time, 11 Eastern time. That might be moved up now that President Trump has put this out into the public realm. But it is true. These guys worked all yesterday, all last night. They were closing in. They knew what they were looking for. They knew without the name of the person where they thought this person was headed, and they were able to ultimately apprehend him. I don't get a sense that he's been very cooperative in interrogation yet. Not surprising. But I think you will see a lot unfold and what this person's connections are, why they thought he's the person, what evidence they found with him, and what evidence led them to him. And I think that is a major breakthrough. This is the way the FBI normally solves cases. It's that constant evidence trail, and you just add it up until you get it. And right now they feel like they may have their man. So we'll keep you up to date on it. We've been following this all through the night.
John, you say may have their man. So what's happening here exactly according to your sources? Like we hear hedging from President Trump makes sense. You say may. Why
President Trump's pretty firm. He said he's pretty certain that they got their guy. My are too. The key is you have to meet a threshold in court, right? And in court, you got to go Utah. You have to file an arrest warrant in order to say it's your man. And so they're filling that out, making sure a judge will approve it. It's just part of the judicial process. But the work on this case has been really, really solid, good, just evidentiary trail stuff. And I think when people see the explanations today, they'll understand that video footage last night and why the gentleman was limping going in but not limping going out, why he was able to run, why he dumped a gun, why he had a screwdriver, because he was assembling and disassembling the gun. There'll be a lot of information that will put what we visually have seen with our eyes into a context that we can understand why they think John is the man. Yep.
Do you have any information from your sources about the father and minister being involved here that President Trump had mentioned?
I don't. I know there were several. Cooperating witnesses that made this arrest possible. I don't know enough to say something public. I know some things a little bit, but not enough to report on yet public. I've always wanted to be careful and safe and not get ahead of the facts. But there were cooperating witnesses throughout this that made this arrest very possible.
John, we heard the news about. John, we heard the news about the things that were written on. I was either the gun or on the bullet. What more do we know about that? There is some evidence on the inscriptions. I'm told that the original ATF document may have been a little bit more assertive than the actual evidence. Is that some of these inscriptions are a little bit more vague as to what they are. But I do believe that at the end of the day, there'll be some evidence recovered at the scene that has some hint of motive, or certainly what the killer wanted us to believe the motive was. Now, sometimes the killer tries to throw people off the scent, right? So they make you think this type of ideology is something else because they want to have time to escape. So we don't know yet. What I was told is that there are some inscriptions on there. They were originally described in an ATF document as transgenderism and fascism. I'm told that it may be a little more vague when people see the words, but that will be important evidence. What this social media footprint of this person is, what was on his computer, his phone, his laptop, all of that will be important evidence to understanding what motivated a person to take such a heinous action as he did.
John, in my lead-in to you, I teased that there is expected to be a news conference this morning. It could happen as soon as 9 o'clock. I think you mentioned it. Yes, it could happen again as soon as 9 o'clock. That's what we're expecting, potentially a little bit later. But the bigger point here, how forthcoming are you expecting FBI officials and local investigators to be? How much information will they have to share at this point, given that this arrest, this detainment just happened?
Listen, they've had a lot of information starting around 6 o'clock last night when things really started to come together. As I said at the end of my show last night, they were really zeroing in. They've had about 12 hours to process the information. They have tremendous forensics out of the FBI lab in Quantico. They have tremendous digital footprinting that they've done. They have a lot of things. I think they'll tell enough of the story for the American public to rest assured that they've got their guy and that there's no longer a threat and the general narrative. And then they'll save some things until they button up their evidence. This has been a very transparent investigation. I know it doesn't feel that way when it's only 36 hours out, but every time they detain someone, they immediately acknowledge it. And when they said that, hey, they've ruled that person out, they immediately acknowledge it. That's unusual in law enforcement, but what it does in the fog of war is it allows the defendant to know, hey, they don't got their guy. I need to be on the lam, and sometimes that forces action. They were very transparent with the release of the images because they believe that would help someone come forward, and I think that was probably an important development in the case. So there'll be some transparency how much they go into, and I think they'll be careful on the motive, unless he's made some spontaneous admissions, or if he's told the minister, or if he's told a relative why he did it. They'll be a little more circumspect on that, but I think they're going to try. What I was told this morning, they're going to try to convince the public that there's no longer a threat here, that they do have the person that pulled the trigger. And I think we'll see how that goes.
I just wanted to kind of give a quick update. We heard President Trump talk about this on Fox and Friends. Then we have the one and only John Solomon, who always is working the case and has great sources and confirming a lot of this. I am now getting a text confirming as well that a suspect is in custody. I cannot give you the attribution based on my relationship with this person, but I'll just simply say that this is someone that we all can highly trust, that a suspect is indeed in custody. So I just
there's no doubt they have their custody. There's no doubt they have the guy.
Yep.
Or the guy they believe it is. Listen, you always got to be open as a journalist to see what the evidence is, but They were zeroing in on them starting around dinner time last night, East Coast time. They worked all through the night. There was a great alliance between the federal, state, and local authorities, and I think when they lay this evidence out, there'll be a degree of confidence about why they think they have this person and where the case goes next. And we heard from the governor last night, they are seeking the death penalty here.
Good.
John Solomon, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for your reporting and your updates on this particular story. Obviously, it is the big story of the day at this point, and we'll continue to cover it. In fact, for more right now, let's bring in former Navy SEAL and FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, it's always good to see you. What do you make of this new information, this breaking information we've been sharing?
Well, if President Trump says it, then I have a feeling he's pretty confident, and he's a good source to have, that they have caught a person of interest that is most likely the person that they were looking for. What I don't want to see, though, is that they do what they did in Boston when they caught the second Sarnoff brother, and they just started celebrating and say, we got the guy, we got him. I don't want to see that, because I want the investigation to play out so that we can know if there was anybody else involved, because this guy may have been the shooter. There could have been other shooters that were in wait. There could have been a whole cell of people that were involved in the planning. I want to see that investigation carried out before they say it's over.
Jonathan, what is the situation with the school right now? Are they still on lockdown? Have students gone home? I haven't heard anything about that. And the other thing I wonder if you know anything about is I've had a lot of trouble finding out, and I wanted to ask John this, but we didn't get to it, and you may not know, is where were Erica and her children at the time of this? Were they back home in Arizona, or were they in the stadium at the time?
I think they were in Arizona at the time. I don't know for sure, but I don't think that they were there. I think that, so I can't speculate on that. But as far as the school goes, the school should be on lockdown until they find this individual, because I believe that individual was a part of the school. I think that for the fact that he was able to get there to that venue and get on that roof in the amount of time that he did and take an effective shot and get out of there tells me that he was familiar with the school. And I think if that's the case, he's either a student or he works there. And so the school has to be thinking that this individual could be secreting themselves back into the school. So I think that school, until this is over with, that things should be shut down until they know that this shooter and anybody involved with them is captured.
David, it looks like you're still working your sources, so I'll take the next question if it's okay with you, so you can continue to work your sources and see if we can get more information. Jonathan, you said something that I found very interesting, that the investigation should continue. We shouldn't be too jubilant until we've got all of the information. I think that is critical. How much information do you think the feds have at this point, and where do they stand? Give me a percentage in terms of really having fully completed this investigation. Are we at 60%, 70% with the arrest? Where do you think the feds may stand?
Well, I can give you a percentage, but what I can tell you is that when they released those pictures and that video, that was a game changer. Law enforcement needs to learn how to do that quicker, because we live in an information world now. And as technology advances, law enforcement has to learn how to advance. That's the problem. They get stuck in that's not the way we do it type of mentality, and that has to change. So when they put that information out, you see how quickly this changes, because if he's familiar with that area and the area is familiar with him, using the public as a force multiplier has to be something that law enforcement is doing faster. That's how they got Luigi Mangione. That's how they're probably going to get this guy. So what I can tell you is that as soon as he was, the pictures were shown, it went exponentially faster, and they got over 7,000 tips. And as those come in, they have to catalog them, and then they have to clear them. And so that's why we got to where we are now.
Jonathan, talk to us. Go ahead, David.
Go ahead. Well, that's a good point, because I just want to say we're 130 tips at 3 p.m. yesterday, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 7,000 last night, to your point. Real quick on the timing of all of this, John Solomon had said that this was going on, that they were basically in the process of apprehending him around dinner time, or a lot of stuff was going on around, quote, dinner time. And yet the press conference happened last night with the FBI around, let's see, it was about 10 p.m. Eastern time after that. So not to get into the granular detail, but it's interesting that like they knew stuff was going on, but they had a press conference saying they didn't have anybody in custody and they wanted the public's help, even though something seemed to be going on before that. Am I reading that right, or am I getting that wrong?
Were they playing possum?
Say
No,
again,
I don't think
Terrence?
I don't think that they were playing possum. I think what you saw is that they when it comes to closing in on a criminal that they're tracking, they can give evidence out like this so that the public is more involved, but they can't give away everything they know because then that individual would move further away or would flee. So that's why we have these press conferences, and it's a tiptoe. And people were being critical because they did give a lot of information. But I think what they did give was vital, and it was vital enough where if they thought they knew who the person was, that it wouldn't cause them to flee completely. But anytime they give this information out, if they have an idea who the person is and they put this out there, they're risking this person then fleeing if they didn't have eyes on them. So it was a balancing act when that press conference occurred.
So, Jonathan, I just have to ask, as I see this kid walking into this with a backpack, climbing up on the roof, I mean, you can go to a Charlie Kirk speaking event with a backpack, and we now know that, I guess, at least it sounds like, as factors are adding up, that he had the gun in there and a screwdriver to assemble the gun. At least that's what it seemed like John Solomon was insinuating. And so this is just common practice with security?
Well, unfortunately, Dr. Gina, as somebody who does threat assessments all over the world, that's what my company does. Yeah. I did over 1,000 last year around the world. We go in, we look at the facility from the attacker's point of view, and then we coordinate with the venue security, which in this case would have been the college police and the local authorities, if they're even around. And so if this was my venue, and I was the security for Charlie, I would have insisted, because I would have looked at it and said, this is where the attack could happen. Let's lock down that area, the high ground, and let's make sure that we have at least 2 law enforcement over there from each corner. There were 6 cops there from that university. From my vantage point, they were all next to the stage, and that's typical. So the problem is threat assessments either aren't done or they're not taken seriously, and then these areas are left open for an avenue of approach. And as we saw this past week, somebody always wins the lottery. And in this case, this guy played the same cards as the shooter in Pennsylvania and the shooter in Florida, except this time he was able to kill his target.
Jonathan, about 15, 30 seconds or so. We're expecting a news conference to happen here within the next 15 minutes or so from the FBI with local officials. What are you expecting to hear? And more importantly, based on your FBI special agent training, what questions do you still have that need to be answered today?
My question is, how did he get on the roof? Because if it was wide open, then that is on the shoulders of that university for allowing the roof to be open. But if he had some way to access this roof, then that means he knows somebody at the university or he works there. How did he get access to that roof? I want to know who asked that question. Not that I think that would have been a trigger, but I want to know those particulars. Who were the people in the audience that were cheering and that were raising a ruckus? Now, we know weirdos are going to show up to these events. So you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. But I primarily want to know where that guy was before the event, who he was talking to, and how did he access that roof. I think that's going to be something that allows me to say, okay, perhaps he did it on his own and the university was just incompetent and left the roof unlocked. But that is a big question for me.
All right. I mean, there are lots of unanswered questions, and David's been working his sources. We've all been trying to cover this. Again, you see at the bottom of your box, folks, that is the news conference that we're expecting to start here in the next 9 minutes or so. About 9 o'clock Eastern time is when we're hearing that it's going to start. Go ahead, David, you're saying?
Well, John Solomon had said that it was 9 a.m. Utah time. I'm trying to confirm that, so that'd be 11 a.m. Eastern. Now, having said that, maybe they're moving it up, or maybe it is 9 a.m. Eastern. But John Solomon had said that it was 9 a.m. Utah time. But once again, John did say that definitely could be earlier. But so I don't think we really know exactly when that press conference is.
And can I say one other thing before I drop off?
Go ahead.
I just want to say that, I know you all knew Charlie. I met him several times, did some things for him. He was an amazing guy. I'm not worried about where he is now. That gives me great solace in knowing that he's with his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. But these things do not have to happen. Charlie did not have to die. This nation has to stop living in smoke and mirrors. Crisis management, security is a part of that, has to become something that we understand as a nation. I understand it as an expert and as an attacker. So why don't we start incorporating serious business? This is serious. Charlie Kirk was murdered. President Trump was shot and somebody was killed at a venue. We have to start taking this seriously and realizing that it's serious business and it's not rocket science. If that guy can get on the roof, somebody can stop him from getting on the roof, and this has to change.
All right. Absolutely. So glad you said that. Jonathan Gilliam, thanks for sticking around. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Thank you.
Let's bring in Congressman Burgess Owens, a friend of this show, and actually in Utah's 4th District, where this shooting happened. Congressman, thanks for being with us. My goodness, what a heavy and sad and disturbing and honestly angry week. So we want to get your reaction to the events of this week. But before we do that, kind of give us the latest on what you're hearing. I'm seeing here that it looks like it might be it looks like it's going to be a 9:30 a.m. Eastern press conference in Utah. So what are you hearing? What do you know? Good morning, sir.
I'm thinking what everyone else is hearing. That they've found the person, the suspect that they have in custody. And let me just say this: we've all had an opportunity to, in some way, interact with Charlie. He was. It's hard to believe he was only 31 years old, and yet he lived his life as we all would love to do as Christians, always talking about who we are, why we're there. And what he did, more than anything else, we talk about the idea of ignorant and free can never be. He was the example of how you fight that. Not just talking, having conversations, being kind, having a temperance where people can see you having these very deep conversations, and yet being able to break through, because when we talk, that's what happens. That's the power of we the people. When we talk, we do good things. And here we have what I consider just pure evil that has been rolling across our country for way too long. And I think this is a wake up. I have no idea. I have no doubt. This is a wake up call, not only for many of us older who've been through the process, but young people who are beginning to get engaged, begin to ask those questions. And they too are realizing this is not America. This is not what Charlie talked about, the vision of our country is. And so as tragic as this is, and obviously we know Heavenly Father has a perfect plan, and we never know how that plan rolls out in the long term. But in this case here, we're going to have, I think, a sea change in terms of our culture, our country, our culture, and our young people, and how they're going to be more engaged as we move forward, which we need at this particular time.
Congressman, you must be pretty familiar.
Go ahead, Dr.
with
Gina. I apologize.
Thank you. No worries. It's a crazy day here in the studio. Congressman, you must be pretty familiar with this university, their system. You're also closer on the ground. You might be hearing more just from people who are on the ground than we are. I just wondered if you could give us anything on the university, their reaction. Are they still locked down? Why wasn't this roof secured? Anything you've heard there on the ground about how this happened that isn't being reported out here in the news?
Yes, I'm very familiar with the university. Two of my girls graduated from there. It's one of the largest ones here in Utah. You have to understand the Utah culture. This is something we don't ever consider could happen. You have 3,000 young people out to enjoy themselves, to have this conversation. I'll actually going to the university later on today for an event that I have been planning on getting done. I think it's something that, again, we'll have to see what the security looked like. But it's surprising because Utah, this is not what happens here. We're shocked by the fact that this kind of evil can be seen and done in this area. So we're doing the same. I'm doing the same as everyone else, just trying to figure out and understand what the latest is. I know, again, as I mentioned, they have a suspect, which I'm not surprised. And we'll just have to see how that all falls out. But it's right next to my district. I go there quite often. Remarkable university, great leadership. Again, it's a value that we have here in Utah are seen there at UVU. So I'm just so sad that of course, sad about the entire process, but sad that the university's in spotlight like this also.
Congressman, just want to reset the show really quickly. As we've been saying, we're expecting a news conference to happen here in short order as soon as 9 o'clock. David saying that it could be around closer to 9:30 Eastern time. That would be about 7 or 7:30 your time there. In fact, we had a video up earlier, and guys, if we can put that video back up of the podium that was set up as reporters are now waiting to get more information. All of this coming after President Trump earlier this morning announced that a suspect was in custody. He was somewhat hedging. But let's hear from the president himself, and then we'll talk on the other side of this. This is what the president had to say on Fox and Friends about 45 minutes ago.
Any updates on the suspect?
Yeah. Can I always say, I think, just to protect us all, and so Fox doesn't get sued, and we all don't get sued, and everything else. But I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But yeah, I think we're in great shape. The father went to a U.S. Marshal who was fantastic, by the way. And the person was involved with law enforcement, but was a person of faith, a minister. And brought him to a U.S. Marshal who was fantastic. And the father convinced the son, this is it. And again, I'm always subject to be corrected, but you know, I'm just giving you, based on what I'm hearing, they'll give you a much more active. I just heard about it 5 minutes before I walked in. As I'm walking in, they said, looking real good. They have the person that they wanted. So,
again, folks, we want to welcome you back to American Sunrise. Terrence Bates, along with David Brody, Dr. Gina, Congressman Burgess Owens joining us again for the show as well. Congressman, you just heard the president's statement there a little while ago. Again, a news conference expected to happen there in your state of Utah at any moment now. We'll take you there live once that happens. Talk about the reaction in your community, because this has got to be a stain. It's got to be hurtful in your community. And unfortunately, people are now going to know your community there for this, not for the other great things that are likely happening.
No, you're correct, and it really is unfortunate with that regard. But let me just, I guess, in a sense, say this: hate, evil is everywhere. And we have a community here that we've always considered ourselves very safe. Some people come here, they enjoy it, they want to come back because they feel that way. But this is something that we have to recognize. We are being an attack. We have been for quite a while. For those who hate our society, hate our culture, and Charlie stood for what the right way to go about changing minds: patience, temperance, love. Confidence, intelligence, all the things that's really made our country the remarkable country it is. It's amazing. It's on the setting of a college campus that is what they're teaching there. They're teaching people how to have these conversations. They want people to have different thoughts, but yet come in a respectful way, talk about things. So we're going to get this back, because this is I think a spotlight of the way our country can go, which is go back to basics, go back to what's made our country the country it is having these conversations. And also understanding that we are truly in an era in which evil is after us. And you take someone like Charlie, who he doesn't have enemies. Anybody knows him, he doesn't have enemies. He didn't have enemies because he's that kind of person that is confident enough about himself. He can listen and talk to anyone and still walk away and say, you know, let's just respectfully agree to disagree. That is the way America works, and that's what's happening. We should be on our college campuses. UVU is one of those campuses that teaches that and helps young people to understand that. So we're going to get back to that, and I think this is, again, a flashpoint to understand we have to dig in, guys. Education, we have to focus on and get it done right, because we've been on the wrong side of this for way too long. And the result of that is the kind of evil we just saw a couple days ago, when it's a very vulnerable, very open, very just a person just talking is murdered in front of thousands of people. This is not the way America should be, and we all understand that. So we're going to go in a different direction for sure.
I want to talk about the spiritual aspect of this for a moment, because you talked about evil, and of course we know there's a spiritual warfare going on, but we always say spiritual warfare, and we don't really maybe explain it as well as we should. And for those that are not believers, they don't understand that realm. But there is a spiritual realm. And I'm getting to my question, which is simply this. I'm curious about where you think this emotion comes from, of what we've seen with tens of millions of Americans this week. Why is this hit a nerve? And yes, for us here at RAV, we knew him. That's a nerve, right? Was 31. That's a nerve. He was being a voice for so many tens of millions of people. That's a nerve. But spiritually, this feels to me, Congressman, different. In other words, there's something you can't quite place your finger on. And I wonder if it has to do with this realm of evil versus good. And when evil won for that split second, by the way, evil did not win. But for that split second this week, it brought people into something they couldn't verbalize, but they were feeling. And it was raw and it was emotional. And I'm curious to get your take on that.
Well, what we're realizing, and this has been a conversation since President Trump came in, and we're beginning to see changes across the country, but we've been in spiritual warfare for quite a while. It's called Marxism. It's an ideology that hates everything we stand for. It hates God. It hates family. It hates business ownership. It hates property. All those things that has made our country the remarkable country it is. And what Charlie was able to do was to articulate in a very calm and intelligent way, and just to be engaged. And all these young people never heard these truths before begin to resonate. They begin to be drawn to it. That is the greatest threat to evil. This country's been based on this concept of God, of becoming a more perfect union, of looking at each other inside out, not outside in. That is who we are. And we always drift in that direction. And we lost our pathway, not understanding that we are under attack. These Marxists have been at us for a long time. They go to our most vulnerable in these universities where we don't have protection. We have professors that come through and push these people out, hating our nation. We're back now. And President Trump was really the linchpin in terms of our country saying, okay, enough of this. We the people now want order. We want to have our faith. We want to have whatever that faith might be. We want to be in a position to dream and grow and have a legacy of our kids. That is what happened in November. Charlie happened to be one of those factors that really made it happen by getting young people engaged. People that in the past have been told they don't need to be involved with politics. Just go out there and have fun and do whatever you want to do and don't think there's a God. Well, Charlie's message was quite different. And now we have young people that are patriotic. They're loving our country. Young men that understand what it is to respect others, to respect women, to respect authority. All those things that make our country what it is, we're finally coming back. And we're going to look back and realize that he was, again, the major impactor in terms of this process. And his life is going to be, again, something that we will be talking about for a long, long time. Let me just say this one thing. I grew up during the time of Rush Limbaugh. When I made my transition to become a Republican, because I listened to Rush Limbaugh every single day, and I would set my schedule up so I could hear him. That has now turned into me being a solid conservative, with my family being that kind of conservative family, and me representing a very conservative state. Well, that's what Charlie's impact is going to be, multiple. Because he spent so much time with so many thousands of young people that listened and had engagement with him. And just imagine, as they grow up now, they go out and get married like he asked them to go out and have a family, grow their businesses, get into the middle class, and more importantly, have the faith, have the spiritual connection to want to give back. Make that part of your life. That's who Charlie was. And he didn't do it just for individuals. He did it in person with kids across this country. And those kids are going to grow up and understand what he stood for and want to emulate that. And that's what's going to turn our country in a way that we're going to be very proud as the next generations kind of come through and see the impact that he's had because of his life.
I think you're right. Congressman. We've talked about the spiritual impact of Charlie Kirk's life. We've talked about the media impact that this assassination will have. We've talked about the political. I want to ask you about the practical, because at some point we're going to have to talk about this. I know, as somebody that goes and does speeches for, Christian women's organizations, my books, whatever it is, like all of us sitting here do, Congressman, you're no stranger to going and addressing crowds. I know people are canceling a lot of events right now. which is exactly what you don't want, because this is terrorism, right? This is exactly what the left wants. But I do know that there are some friends of mine who have canceled their book tours right now, for example. What are you going to do? What is the word among other Congress people? How are we going to handle this going forward? Because we can't all afford to have glass boxes around us and counter shooters, right? Counter sharpshooters up on roofs. What does this mean for rallies, for just Congress people to go speak to their districts?
Well, for those who have that faith, who have understanding of why we're here, it's not an accident. We're all here, guys, together at this particular time. It's for a purpose. I'm sorry. And I think now is our time to lean in. This is the time that we're here for a purpose. It's not an accident, again, as I mentioned before, the Heavenly Father has put us here at this time. And these are things we have to go through. When it comes down to, do we have courage or do we have fear? If you have the faith that this is a country that's built on principles, there's a God that loves us, that takes care of us, and guides our direction, and makes it's a perfect plan for all of us. So the question is, do we have that faith like Charlie did? Now, of course, understand that his faith led him to that particular point of courage, and he's paid the price for it. But it's also been an example for many of us that price is worth it if you're making the difference in our country. We're fighting for the heart and soul of our nation right now. These are very, very special times. We've seen a president who stood up and after being attacked said, fight, fight, fight. Well, that's what Americans do. It's within our DNA. We are not those who cower. We're the ones that see. Now, first of all, we dream big, and then we kind of get into the freedom bubble. Sometimes we don't realize we're under attack. But once we do, we don't cower. We fight. We run toward the issues that we need to. So I think we're going to find even a stronger a will within Congress. You're going to start seeing things that now that we're coming together, realize that this is important. Charlie's kind of been a linchpin in many, many different ways for many of us. So I feel more hopeful that we are going to get things done quicker now because the American people realize, and by the way, let me say this, there's always going to be a fringe. There's always going to be a hateful group of godless people that want to destroy everything. But most of America's not that way. We are very good people on both sides. And when I say both, Democratic people are really good folks. They just have been listening to the hard left and believing them. This is a point at which they realize they're going to sit back and say, wait a minute, how can this happen? I don't agree with Charlie, but how can a man, 31 years old, sitting talk with kids, how can this happen? And they're going to ask those same questions that we are saying, this has gone too far. Enough is enough. We need to stop this. And this is going to be those moments that I think we begin to have these conversations as a people that we've needed to have for so long. So just know, moving forward, I feel more hopeful for our nation, more excited about the conversations we're going to have, the more education we're going to start having on our college campuses now, because we're done. We're done with cancellation. We're done with intimidation. We're done with all that stuff that the hard left has been putting on us for decades. So this is a point in which we're going to look back and realize, because of Charlie's life, because of his message, because of his way, we're going to go in a different direction, and it's going to change our country for the good.
Congressman, I'd be remiss if we didn't ask you real quick. You were emotional there in your answer at the beginning. Where did that emotion come from? What's going on? Tell us.
I think a lot of it is, first of all, the moment we have now, and see such a good person, something like this happening, but also recognize that the blessing that we have to be part of this solution at this time. I think Americans, anybody's watching this, just know it's not an accident you're sitting here, you're hearing these conversations, that we have these emotions that we're feeling now, because we're going to bring our country back. So know that this is a special window. And it began when we brought President Trump in, and he put his team around him. And all of us now who've been prepared through all these years to do what we're doing right now. It's not an accident. We're here to save our nation. So just lean into that, know that, and then do your very best to bring your talents out. Don't let fear drive us. That's what the left wants. That's what the hard left wants, godless. Let's take out our faith and lean in hard and realize Heavenly Father is going to be there with us and help us, allow us to take our talents to make sure those who come behind us dream bigger than we've ever thought can happen, and our country comes back the way it should be.
Congressman, if I can, just very quickly, David, if you don't mind, because I think it's important to bring up as well. After Charlie's shooting the other day, there was a moment of silence. Speaker Johnson tried to have a moment of silence there in the House chamber. Some of your Democrat colleagues booed and yelled and showed in, I think, most reasonable people's minds a lack of decorum. Speak to that. Can you speak to the climate in this country that's being perpetuated even on the left, this climate of division, this climate that seems to lack compassion even for something basic as the murder of a man?
You just used the right word, compassion. I say empathy. Let me tell you about our country that I believe so strongly in. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle we're sitting on. We have a country that believes in empathy. We have that heart. That's why we serve the way we do. That's why we have charities that we lean in on. But at the same time, you're also seeing the heartlessness of a ideology that does not believe in a God, that hates, that celebrates death and celebrates hopelessness. I mean, understand, we've seen this for a long, long time. Go to any city where people are hopeless, that are ignorant, and can't read and write, can't get a job, and you have people celebrating that by continue to push that on. We're at a point now where good people are seeing this and realize there's something wrong when that kind of stuff can happen in Congress. When something wrong, people go online and celebrate a young man, 31 years old, leaving 2 kids behind and a wife. That's not who we are. So the empathy of our nation is what's going to kind of shine at this point. We're going to start having conversations now that we have not in the past, because it's going to be a softening of for those who have in the past who kind of lean in that direction, realizing that's not who we are, that's not who I am. And I'll say this too, even on the right, we're angry, we're upset. We're tired of seeing this type of anger and hatred. But at the same time, we do still have the ability to reach out and have these conversations. We're going to get to the point again where we're talking more than ever before. And the way we have to make the changes on these college campuses, the left understood decades ago, if you want to change a culture, go after the most vulnerable. Go at your K through 12, college, and we're going to change that. We're going to give our kids more hope, more education about history and who we are. Our Christian foundation allows us to have the freedoms we have for all religions. This is where we're going to go now, and there's going to be a demand for it because of what's happened to Charlie and people realizing what a good man he was. He didn't deserve this. This is not who our country is. Because of that, it's going to be a linchpin for us, for sure.
No doubt about that. Congressman Owens, thanks for spending the extended time with us this morning. We appreciate you so much and everything you've said.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. God bless.
God bless you.
You bet. We're standing by for a press conference, an FBI press conference, detailing that a suspect has been caught in the Charlie Kirk assassination. More coverage, breaking news coverage, after the break.
Hey there. Hey. Hey there, how are you? I'm with Disabled American Veterans. I was wondering if you had a quick minute to thank America's veterans for their service and sacrifices.
Of course, why not?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Sure.
All right. Hey, well, come on in here. I'm just going to hit record on this.
I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I can't even think of the words to say of how grateful I am.
I just want to tell you guys how much you appreciate it.
But most importantly, I want to thank you for your courage and bravery.
Wow. Just thank you.
Someone here who'd like to say something to you.
Oh my God, you guys are awesome.
Someone has something they want to say to you.
Goodness.
How's it going?
Oh. So I just want to let you know how much you appreciate it. How much you appreciate it.
I just feel honored for everything you've done.
Thank you for myself. Thank you for everybody.
I get to live every day, in peace because of you.
A lot of people thank us, but we want to take the time to thank you, honestly, for giving back. And when you give to DAV, you are supporting veterans like Dave, myself. So thank you so much for your.
Thank you. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
You can say thank you to our nation's heroes by calling the number on your screen right now and giving your monthly support of only $19.
Say thank you by going to helpdav.org right now and give just $19 a month. When you do, we'll send you this DAV blanket as a thank you and a reminder that you support those who served.
Please call or go online to helpdav.org right now. Your support says thank you to our nation's disabled American veterans.
Breaking news from Real America's Voice.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. We appreciate you being here with us on this busy Friday morning. We want to recap some breaking news. President Trump says he believes the suspect behind the Charlie Kirk assassination is in custody. Here is the announcement he made about an hour ago.
Any updates on the suspect?
Yeah. Can I always say, I think, just to protect us all, and so Fox doesn't get sued, and we all don't get sued, and everything else. But I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody. Right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But, yeah, I think we're in great shape. The father went to a U.S. Marshal, who was fantastic, by the way. And the person was involved with law enforcement, but was a person of faith, a minister. And brought him to a U.S. Marshal who was fantastic. And the father convinced the son, this is it. And again, I'm always subject to be corrected, but you know, I'm just giving you, based on what I'm hearing, they'll give you a much more active. I just heard about it 5 minutes before I walked in. As I'm walking in, they said, looking real good. They have the person that they wanted. So,
and the additional information President Trump was talking about there is expected to come out at any moment now. There at the bottom of your screen, you see a video which is of a FBI news conference that's set to get underway here at any moment. We'll take you there live. In the meantime, we want to bring in former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich. Governor Blagojevich, always good to see you, sir. As you take in all of this, the fact that we're hearing that there is a suspect now in custody, does that allow you to breathe a little easier, or do you still have more questions that are raising concerns, if you will?
Well, no, there's a lot of questions about all of it and how it happened, and I think we can learn a lot from this, of course. But it's good to hear that it looks like they have the suspect in custody. Let me just say again, as everybody has said, anybody who's a fair-minded person who has the fundamental decency of a human being, how terrible I feel for what happened to Charlie Kirk. I had the opportunity to be on his podcast a couple of times. I met his mother and father. Interestingly, up at Mar-a-Lago, they came from Illinois. Charlie went to Wheeling High School. I'm familiar with that. I was the governor of the state. When I met his mom and dad, it was clear they were so proud of him and his accomplishments. And when I think about my young daughters who are 29 and 22 and Charlie's generation, it's so nice to see the great work that Charlie has done. And that's his lasting legacy that he brought about in this new generation, this young generation that in so many ways has been contaminated by the things that are being taught to them in the schools, that Charlie can mobilize like he did through the colleges and the high schools to essentially counteract those academics and provide a place for young people to actually embrace the fundamental ideals that make America great. And they are rooted in the Judeo-Christian tradition and in our faith in God. And so, look, it was time for our father to call him home. God has his purposes and his plans, and Charlie was certainly part of his plans here. And I believe he's got a plan for him in that better world where I know Charlie is.
Mm. You know, people of faith will also often say it's not about when you were born or when you died, but it's about what you do in that dash in between. What is Charlie Kirk's legacy in your mind? What does that dash represent for the world?
No, I think Charlie is Charlie's legacy is a substantial one, essentially being the leading advocate for fundamental American ideals, love of country, faith, family, opportunity, which is the American dream that's been so much a part of our history, hard work, having a dream and pursuing that dream, starting something from nothing and making it something big. All of these things are the things that he did in his short, young life, which are really remarkable. And so his legacy is to his generation, in large part, an example of not just someone who can turn something from starting with nothing to make it a big, big success, but his legacy is, I think, again, the mobilizing of the young generation behind the fundamental ideals and values of America. And that's very important in times like these, because those very values have been undermined by the political left in America. And it's among the reasons why Democrats like me are disenchanted with the Democratic Party. It's a party that we no longer recognize.
Governor Blagojevich, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us and sharing some of your thoughts with us this morning.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you, Terrence. Thank you.
Likewise. It's a pleasure. All right, let's get you over to David Brody now. David, good morning.
Good morning, Terrence. We have some breaking news. It's been a morning of breaking news. The Associated Press reporting the identity now of who this suspect is. I'm reading from the Associated Press. The New York Post also reporting this, but this is the Associated Press. Say the suspect in custody in connection with the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a 22-year-old from Utah. That's according to a law enforcement official who told the Associated Press. Here it comes. The officials say authorities have identified the suspect as Tyler Robinson. The official was not authorized to discuss the ongoing investigation and spoke Friday on the condition of anonymity. That's what we have. And that coming in literally within the last 60 to 120 seconds. Now we start researching, and we'll get more information here at this press conference, Steve Bates.
Yeah, and as you see there at the bottom of your screen, right across David's chest there, that news conference is expected to get underway here in short order. We're just waiting for FBI officials, state officials there in Utah, as well as local officials to take the podium and confirm some of what we already are hearing, both from President Trump as well as other sources. We do expect, and David, the moment they take the podium, they will once again reiterate that name and hopefully give us some more information about Tyler, I think you said is his first name. Is that correct?
Tyler Robinson. And NBC.
Tyler Robinson.
Everybody across the conservative, liberal, legacy media, everybody now reporting the name Tyler Robinson is the alleged suspect's name. Doing deep dives now, checking my sources for more on that.
Sure. And we're expecting to get more information on all of that here in short order. Jake Novak is also going to join us here in short order with a little bit more. In fact, do we have Jake, guys? Okay, we do have Jake right now. Jake, apologies to you, but as you know, it's breaking news and there's a lot changing. What more can you add to all of this?
Well, I think it's really telling that this is a 22-year-old suspect. I mean, obviously this is reporting from other sources, but so I'm not going to really go so much on the name. I'm not going to be looking up social media accounts with that person's name. But what we saw from the surveillance pictures and from the video is that I'm not surprised to see that it's a younger person. But I would just say also, look, I have a 22-year-old child. Gina has children in that age range as well. Folks, we have, this is what Charlie Kirk's mission was. He used the term mission, and I use that word advisedly, to knowing that these young people in America have been turned against decency in so many ways. Again, this person could have a totally different story, but the fact that it's a young suspect, I think, is our headline. We should really be considering that. The person who shot President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, also a young shooter. This is our crisis in America, and Charlie Kirk was trying to help fix that. So, of course, it's very sad in that way, in addition to the devastation and the atrocity of his murder. But that youth, that age is really sticking out to me. I'm sure it is to you guys, too.
And it plays right into everything we've been talking about from some of the storylines that have come out of this, which is that Charlie Kirk, we know, obviously made so many impressions and had such a difference on the college campuses across this country. And we also have talked about the spiritual aspect of this, the revival generation. Many are calling Gen Z the revival generation. And then we talk about evil, good versus evil. I mean, it just feels like it's a confluence, like it's all kind of like there's a battle for the soul of this nation right now. And this just, to your point, with the age of this person, it just makes you think that this is right in the thick of it all, Jake.
Yeah, you're right. I do hope that Gen Z becomes the revival, the resurrection of this country's spirit. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to come without casualties. There's going to be some difficult people in the road. We learned this also from some of the people who came back from the Iraq War, who had so many wounds from it. They were about that age when that war was going on. And we know that so many of them became great patriots, in addition to, even though they were already soldiers, but became great patriots on a political level, in addition to doing their service. But it didn't come without high prices sometimes. And what Charlie was trying to do, and will continue, and people will continue to do in his memory, is not going to be easy, folks. It's going to be very uplifting. It's going to be one of the highest callings you could ever have. But you're going to have people like this, potentially, again, if this is all true, that are not going to go along. And that's the risk we take. But that's why we call it work, doing the work for God and doing the work for morality. It's not like if it were just a snap of fingers, then it would not be virtue.
Jake, while I agree with you that the age of the alleged, and I think it's important that we say the alleged shooter here is of concern, the other thing that's of concern to me is this environment that we're in, this caustic environment. And again, at this point, investigators haven't confirmed the motive in this, but I think many people believe that what probably motivated this particular attack is Charlie's views and the fact that he was so upfront about it. And I think we all can also agree, Jake, that we're in this environment where if I disagree with you, it's not just an agreement to disagree, it becomes personal. And sometimes the personal, and we've seen this even with President Trump, leads to deadly attacks or at least aggressive and dangerous attacks. And that's what's frightening to me, is that we're in this environment.
Yeah, and young people are much more impressionable. I mean, we see this also not even with just demonizing particular political parties or people like Charlie Kirk or President Trump, but just like the environment. We have an entire generation of young people who went to school every day being told that the world was going to end tomorrow because of the environment, because your mommy and daddy were driving in an SUV. What did you think that was going to produce? Did you think that was going to produce a bunch of peaceful, well-adjusted children? It didn't. Greta Thunberg is just one of many people like that who have been radicalized by fear-mongering, by people who had their own personal gains involved. I think that 90% of the politicians and leaders who say horrible things about Donald Trump don't believe a word of it, but they believe that they can get somewhere on it. Well, this is the casualty. Young people like this, again, and as you're right, alleged, we'll have to see if this is true. Young people like this, though, who are your sacrificial lamb. People think that child sacrifice went out 5,000 years ago or so with the pagans. It didn't. It's all the rage again, whether it's transgendering them, whether it's using them as fodder, as cannon fodder in places like Gaza, or something like this, where we indoctrinate our children for our own political gain. There's real sacrifice involved here, and I don't want to see it continue.
Can I just do a quick social media public service announcement, if you will? And maybe you guys will back me on this, or maybe not, but I think you will. Excuse me, I'm fighting a little cold here. Look, can we be careful about what is on social media? I mean, that's obvious. We know that for a while. But for example, in this case, there were 3 different names given about who the suspect was. If you go on social media in the last 24 to 48 hours, they were all wrong. It wasn't any of those names. And so as we start to now Google or go on to, X and other places and type in Tyler Robinson and everything, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes up. Some of it may be true. Some of it may not. Can we just, as my dad liked to say, hold our horses here and just chill out on social media? And I'm not saying wait for the authorities to tell us what to do. That's not what I'm saying. Trust me. I don't trust them as much that I used to, for sure. But I'm just saying on the social media front, we have to be careful, guys. We have to be careful.
Agreed. David and Jake, I'd like to pose both of you a question because there at the bottom of your screen, you're seeing that we're waiting for this news conference to get underway. We're expecting it to happen at any moment. Again, we'll take you there live. When it happens, we'll all listen to it together. But there's been conversation this morning, David and Jake, about what we expect to hear and the way the FBI has publicly handled this investigation and the information coming out. So, David, I begin with you, and then, Jake, I'd like you to answer the question as well. What do you want to hear? What do you expect to hear from the investigators this morning?
Well, I don't think we're going to probably hear too much right now, especially at this juncture. I mean, after last night's 10 p.m. press conference that I was pretty livid about at the top, I think they're going to hold it close to the vest. And there's a degree of reason behind that for sure, 100%. You don't want to get ahead of your skis on stuff. But going forward, what do I want to hear? Well, I got a lot of questions that I want to know. I'd love to know how he got on the roof and what in the world was going on from a security standpoint. Well, I've got a lot of other questions, but I'll just leave it at that, just to say that I don't think we're going to get those type of kind of not soul searching, but investigative questions about the FBI. That's not the story today for sure. The story today is more about Tyler Robinson. Jake?
Terrence and David, I can't guess what they're going to say, but I will answer your question about what I hope they're going to say. You know, if I would like to hear more details about what we're hearing in reports that somebody very close to the shooter, a family member, maybe a pastor, is the one who turned him in and was able to get this person apprehended. I want to hear about that because I want everyone to remember a name. You've all heard the name Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. Do you remember the name David Kaczynski? That was Ted Kaczynski's brother, who after the FBI made the difficult decision to publish the Unabomber's manifesto, which was a tough decision to make because it gave him publicity, David looked at it and said, "That's Ted. That's my brother." And that led to his apprehension. And David Kaczynski is an American hero for having done that. Not easy to turn in your own brother. And if that was the case in this story as well, someone who saw the picture and said, "This is my loved one," or "This is someone I know," that person should be, I don't know if they want to get their name out there. I'm not asking that. But I want to know about that, too.
Yeah, I also want to know about the timeline. Real quick, can I just say, I want to know about the timeline, Bates. In other words, Wednesday at X time in the afternoon, when he left the roof and he went down with that surveillance video where the last time we saw him was at a tree somewhere on campus, where did he go after that? Because if his father, and this is what President Trump was talking about, that the father minister had turned him in. So did he just kind of go home and like, wait a minute, if that's the case, that doesn't sound right, that he would go home right away after the shooting and then, the assassination, and then, what is it now, almost 48 hours later, they turn him in, like he was there for 2 days? Or where did he go exactly between that time and late last night when apparently something went down? I just want to know more about the timing.
Well, hopefully we'll get those answers here in short order. We're hearing the presser is going to start here within the next 3 minutes or so. We, of course, are watching it, and we'll take you there the moment it does happen. Jay, appreciate you being here. Appreciate your perspective. Let's now bring in Dr. Gina and Donna Fiducia from Cowboy Logic to join this conversation. David also here. Donna, good morning. Your thoughts about all that's happened today. Obviously, there's a lot to take in, so I'm just going to give you a blank slate. Please begin to paint.
Well, just a whirlwind of emotions this entire week for everybody involved. And I wanted to talk about our show was taped before Charlie's passing, so I want everybody to know that. And I'm glad I had this opportunity to talk about how I knew Charlie. Don and I met him when he was like 18 or 19 years old. Major General Paul Vallely, who was one of the generals who spoke he was one of the Fox military analysts that I interviewed many, many times. And General Vallely and I and Don and Charlie were at this convention in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And General Vallely said, "You got to meet this kid. This kid is, I guess they had contacted each other because of the West Point situation. We went out and we had lunch on the waterfront there. And it was,
Donna,
even
I apologize.
back then.
I want to interrupt you.
Oops.
Okay, I might interrupt you here, and I just want to give you a warning because people are stepping to the podium there. And so if I interrupt you, that is why. Go ahead, finish your thought. I apologize. I just wanted to put that on your radar. Go ahead.
Well, I can see that. And the thing was, even back then, and you meet so many people in the course of your life, he made an impression. This kid was going places and you could see it. And it was amazing how many lives he touched. And you know what? I think the world did hit a turning point, ironically. And, they say if you wake up the sleeping giant, you just be careful of what happens. I noticed yesterday on social media, the moment you silence a man with a bullet, instead of an argument, you've admitted that your worldview is too weak to stand for the truth. I think that is so poignant at this point. Charlie was molding the next generation like Rush Limbaugh was molding our generation. We were heartbroken over Rush. We're certainly heartbroken over Charlie. And the behavior of the left is so reprehensible. I think that what's really amazing is how many Democrats are saying they're switching to the Republican Party over this. But Charlie was somebody who just built a legacy that I just don't think there's too many people out there that are going to be able to fill his shoes. But I think there's thousands of kids who he has touched, and hopefully they will stand in the gap, quite honestly, for what Charlie was doing. And I even said to Don this week, I think we've been deprived of a future president, because that's what he was destined to be, in my opinion. He had everything to be president of the United States. And certainly a lot of people are saying that. Mike Benz even posted that. I totally agree. So, guys,
it's interesting, Donna. I'm looking at the reported Facebook page of his mother right now, who is actively deleting her posts as I'm talking to you. But from what I can tell of this suspect in this situation, his life looked incredibly normal. Like, there's literally not a single red flag I can find, and this is with way too many years of background in psychology. I don't see anything that doesn't look normal. In fact, it looks almost like if you were to create a Facebook page of the perfectly normal American family, that's sort of what it looks like. It's sort of hard to believe. I mean, all of this is so hard to wrap our heads around, but it's so hard to believe how someone could be so radicalized. And Donna, I just wonder, because you and I have had a lot of chances to talk off camera about our society and some of the horrible things we've gone through, especially with the J6ers and things that you and I are both really passionate about. And I just wonder if you think this might be largely a societal problem.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it only takes a few bad apples to spoil things for everybody. You got to wonder if he was on medication. We've seen that with so many of the shooters lately. Obviously, what's going on with the whole indoctrination. What really got me, Dr. Gina, is how many teachers, how many government workers, how many doctors were happy about this. And what does that tell you? Do you want to go to a doctor who is supposed to save lives actually happy about an assassination? This has been going on for decades. This didn't just happen overnight. And the fact that this kid allegedly is 22 years old, to me, speaks volumes, because that is exactly who Charlie was targeting. And he's touched so many lives in a positive way. Unfortunately, though, there are so many that you can't stop everyone, unfortunately. And so you have to kind of look back. And I think this is a very revealing moment for our country. And quite honestly, it is a turning point.
Yeah. It is. Donna, thanks for sharing all your thoughts. We're waiting for appreciate you being here, of course. We're waiting for the press conference to start any moment now. In the meantime, let's bring in Andy Ngo, the author of Unmasked: Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy. Andy, thanks for being here with us. Excuse our manners here if we have to cut you in the middle for this press conference, but obviously you'd understand. Give us your thoughts going into the fact that we have new information this morning. A 22-year-old from Utah, Tyler Robinson. Good morning.
It's always, for journalists like myself, a literal race against the few minutes we have to find what information that might be online once a name is leaked, and then information is pretty quickly scrubbed. And it looks like that's happening as we speak. So I haven't been able to look into this name yet. And from what I'm just seeing briefly online from other people posting on social media, that the stuff has been taken down. But usually social media can provide someone an idea of maybe context of ideologically where a person may be. I don't know anything about this individual yet, and I hope that soon, right after this interview, I'm going to be digging into that.
Sure.
Yeah, as I was saying, I did the exact same thing, Andy, and went immediately to look up their social media, found his mother's social media, and they're removing it in real time, and I'm trying to screenshot it as quickly as I can. Just looking for any sort of indication of anything that looks shady or abnormal or red flag kind of stuff, and really not seeing anything. This will certainly inform the narrative on this story, but it'll leave us with a lot more questions that people like you will have to try to dig in and answer.
Yes, I'm still very fixated on the alleged ATF leak of the internal memo that the rifle cartridges may have had inscriptions that were of political nature. CNN reported that there were multiple arrows. That was a quote. And I immediately thought of an Antifa logo. We don't know if that's actually what it is, but that's what I'm most curious about, because that would be particularly most revealing about a motive.
Andy, do you think that the FBI will go into that particular part of the investigation during its upcoming news conference? Obviously, it's not all been confirmed, but there are questions. I would imagine if you were party to this news conference, it would be a question you would pose. Are you expecting to get those answers or confirmations from the FBI this morning?
I am not expecting that at this point. I think based on the prior press conferences, they're basically releasing what little information they can as it comes out. The press conference that happened last night, for example, only had this video, the person of interest jumping off the building and escaping, and then a plea for the public to come forward. I imagine that since this information about an arrest is so new, that's probably the only thing that we'll hear.
Andy, did it surprise you at all that I say it took this long? Maybe I'm wrong to say it took this long. Or does this sound pretty normal to you? What's your kind of assessment of that?
It surprised me in the sense that once we had images of the real person of interest following several false arrests, that he looked so young. And there were, this didn't happen in the middle of a rural area where there are no cameras. This is a university campus. There was immediately a big law enforcement presence, and the fact that the person of interest is 22 years old and was able to get away for days, that was surprising, and it spurred a lot of hypotheses online that maybe it was a much more professional operation. That remains to be seen, but these felt agonizing in these hours that kept going by, and that it was false arrest after false arrest, and it seemed like hope was fading that we could apprehend somebody alive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Andy, we appreciate your time. Andy No joining us this morning here on American Sunrise. Thanks so much for your expertise and your perspective.
Thanks, Andy.
My pleasure.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're standing by for a news conference that is going to happen. It's breaking news coverage of the very latest on the investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder. There's a live shot of the podium. We're expecting FBI officials along with state officials there in Utah and local officials to answer our questions and to hopefully lay out the very latest in this case, as a suspect has now reportedly been arrested, and we'll get more information. More breaking news coverage after this break.
Hey, just want to say thank you for your service.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure you've heard that before, but we want you to know that we understand the freedoms and liberties in this country are because of people like you who served and gave everything for the cause of freedom. We don't take that lightly. So thank you for everything you've done and sacrificed for us.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
We're ready for our ticket. It's been paid.
People thank me for my service all the time. But I want to thank you for being someone
worth fighting for. You make it all worth it. If you really want to thank me and other veterans like me, go to helpdav.org and support disabled American veterans. That is the best way to say thank you and keep our promise to our nation's heroes.
You can say thank you to our nation's heroes by going to helpdav.org right now, or call the number on your screen and give your monthly support of only $19. Your support lets our disabled veterans know you appreciate them and everything they have sacrificed for us. When you do, we'll send you this DAV blanket as a thank you and a reminder that you support those who served.
When you support DAV, you're showing veterans like me that you were worth fighting for.
Please call or go online to helpdav.org right now. Your support in this moment honors our veteran service.
Breaking news from Real America's Voice.
All right, as we've been reporting all morning, and now we have in the last just few minutes, know that 22-year-old Tyler Robinson was named as the suspect in the Charlie Kirk assassination. For more, let's bring in the host of America's Voice Live. That would be Steve Gruber. Steve, I want to get your take on it, and I just had something here. I just wanted to kind of double check something, but I don't have it quite yet. But Steve, go ahead. Tell us what you're. I'm sorry. I realized I'm a little scattered this morning. So what I want to hear at this FBI press conference, which we're waiting for, is the following. Was he captured, or did he turn himself in? We're hearing that he turned himself in. So it was not like the FBI captured him like in a manhunt. I mean, like without the father turning him in, I just want more information about that and a whole lot of other questions. Go ahead, Steve.
Wasn't too long ago that there was a shooting on the campus of Michigan State University, not far from where I sit today. And one of the things, the nagging question to me is, how did he gain access to the roof?
Right.
That's been my nagging question from the beginning, because usually roof access is restricted, very restricted. How did he get on the roof? Because obviously the exit was over the side of the building when he jumped to the ground, right? So we know that. Mm-hmm. Clearly, that's a question. And every college campus, every high school, every middle school, every school has strict security protocols for all the reasons we're very clear about. And so how did he gain access to that roof? That's my question. But what's sad about it, and this has been a gut-wrenching 2 days for all of us. I knew Charlie. You all knew Charlie. And we're going to break this down. And we're going to say, where did this kid, it looks like he went to Utah State University, maybe. I see a video here of him reading the acceptance letter online to a camera of some sort. Anyhow, why did this happen? Gene, I heard you remark during the break, looks like a remarkably ordinary family. Mm-hmm. Well, then who turned this kid into a monster? Who turned the kid into somebody who wanted to shoot America? Because really, by shooting Charlie Kirk, you shot the Constitution. You shot free speech. You shot every one of us. By doing that, you put a bullet into freedom. Charlie Kirk was a good guy. He'd debate anybody. He didn't agree with you necessarily, but he would debate anybody and share ideas back and forth. And he would get yelled at, and he got death threats, and he knew he was a target, but he had the courage to go out there and talk about his Christian convictions, to talk about his belief in this country, talk about his belief in people. That's why I went there. He loved people. And they gunned him down because he was an American. And I think that's what hurts me the most, honestly. And it hurts me deep. I'm not going to kid you. I've been emotional.
Yeah, you mentioned the roof. And with a backpack, with a gun that was in pieces and a screwdriver. I mean, I guess there was no metal, nothing, no metal detectors, no security of any kind. Because you can't walk into a football game with that.
Yeah. Look, the security was suspect, but here's the question. Is any outdoor venue safe anymore? You've got nut jobs out there. You just call it for what it is. You got nut jobs out there. And he got access to a hunting rifle, a 30-06. And here's, I believe that he, as sad as what I'm going to say is, I believe it to be true. I believe he missed his shot. But fool luck gave him a fatal shot. I believe he was trying for a headshot, but a 30-06 sighted in at 100 yards, drops 8 inches at 200 yards. He was not experienced, didn't know what he was doing. I think he was trying to shoot Charlie Kirk in the head in front of 3,000 people, and he missed. But sadly, his miss turned into a fatal shot. And he stole somebody from us that he was not entitled to take. He stole somebody from his wife and his children. But I will tell you this, my friends. Charlie Kirk had more people hear him and see him yesterday than at any time in his life. He is bigger in death. His message is bigger and more powerful in death than it was in life. And that's little consolation today, but it's true. And the seeds that he planted across this country for Christianity, for freedom, for the Constitution, they will grow and they will bear fruit. You mark my words.
You know what? We have a lot of questions. We're about to get some answers. So we'll wait and see. I will say this about the social media stuff out there. Looks can be deceiving. Looks can be deceiving. We don't know what was really going on, and hopefully we'll get some more answers. We're back in a moment. We'll get to this press conference. When it happens, stay with us.
Guys, if you plan to retire in the next 20 years, or if you've already retired, I have a message for you that you need to hear. Central banks, BRIC nations, and our allies are pumping trillions of dollars back into America, but every dollar they send could make your savings worth less. Hi, I'm Donald Trump Jr., and I just want you to be prepared for the future. So protect your hard-earned savings with gold. A gold IRA from my trusted friends at the Birch Gold Group offers you the safety net of gold with the tax advantage status of a retirement account. To see how it's done, click the link below to get a free info kit on gold IRAs. This kit reveals why gold IRAs are exploding in popularity, so do it now. What do you have to lose? It's free and there's no obligation. Click the link below to get your free info kit from the Birch Gold Group.
Thinking about Medicare? Think AMAC. Medicare can be complicated, but AMAC makes it simple. Our licensed agents provide free, unbiased guidance to help you find the plan that best suits your needs. But that's not all AMAC has to offer. AMAC is America's leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization, guided by the principles of faith, family, and freedom. So when it comes to Medicare and so much more, think AMAC.
How does the world's most trusted dog expert keep his own dog so healthy?
Hi, I am Cesar Milan. In my 20 years rehabilitating dogs, I've seen too many struggle with health problems that no amount of training could fix. Then I discovered it wasn't the dog, it was their food. Fortunately, I found veterinarian Dr. Marty's anti-kibble breakthrough.
Nature's Blend is packed with whole foods that are freeze-dried, locking in nutrients.
I saw remarkable improvements in my dogs within weeks.
Try Dr. Marty risk-free for 90 days. Plus, get a free gift when you call or visit drmartypets.com/Caesar.
Breaking news from Real America's Voice.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I am Emily Finn, continuing our breaking news coverage. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It has been a rough week as we all mourn the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Let's continue with our coverage with Terrence, Dr. Gina, and David. Terrence, incredibly heartbreaking, everything that we saw this week, and hopefully we'll have some more answers in just a few moments at that press conference.
Yeah, and I think that's key. America needs answers. We need to find out more about this suspect, 22 years old. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to give him that sort of notoriety, even though there's an argument to be made that the name is pertinent. But I'm just going to say there's a 22-year-old suspect who is said to be in custody. He is from Utah, and we'll hopefully get some more answers at this upcoming news conference about him. I think there are also lots of questions to be answered about how he was able to gain access to a roof and and ultimately shoot Charlie Kirk. Again, that's the allegation against him. And then motive. I think many Americans deserve to know and are going to want to know what motivated all of this. So there are lots of questions. And David, you probably have many more.
Absolutely. And if the father, we're hearing obviously from President Trump and others, if the father turned him in, there would obviously be a debrief of, what any sort of motive may have been. So we should have at least, I want to say preliminary, some idea at the beginning as to what was going on inside his head to a degree. I'm not suggesting we're going to see a manifesto or anything today. I don't know what we're going to see. By the way, Gina, I understand that there was a 3-minute warning about 3.5 minutes ago. So we're any moment now, Gina.
Yeah, again, just looking over social media here and finding absolutely nothing extraordinary. I mean, this family looked as normal could possibly be. So it just really gives you more questions. It doesn't look like this kid was from a bad family. He wasn't from a broken family. He wasn't from a fatherless home. He's really not fitting any of the categories. So it'll be interesting to hear what sorts of perhaps medicines he was on, if he was somehow indoctrinated. But I'm not seeing any sort of radicalism whatsoever, and a very, very almost extraordinarily normal family, which is sort of hard for me to personally believe. I thought I was going to see something a lot more interesting. The only interesting thing on this page is that people have started coming in and saying horrendous things in the comments on the pages, but that's about it.
David, if I can just add, you mentioned that about 3.5 minutes ago, we got a 3-minute warning. Probably about 20 minutes ago, we got the first 3-minute warning, and nothing has come yet. No one is taken to the podium, which says to me, as someone who has covered news conferences across this country, that officials are in the back. They are somewhere huddled up, trying to make sure that they've got all their I's dotted, all their T's crossed, and that everyone is on the same page, and that everyone fully knows what is going on and the message that they are going to share to the American people. That would be my suspicion. Again, that's coming from a place of information, having covered these sorts of things. You've covered many as well. Do you agree? What do you suspect is going on behind the scenes?
Not only do I agree, you stole my line, dotting I's and crossing T's. That's exactly what they're doing. And maybe to use an actor's or, kind of an actor term, I bet you there's quite a few rewrites going on as well. They